minutes until showtime. Okay, we're almost ready. We're going to be pulling in the studio in about 15 seconds. Hang in there, Earth Explorers. This is the last Sunday in October. Should be a lot of fun. Okay, here we go. Studio live.
In New Hampshire at this rally in Manchester at the airport, talking about a variety of things, picking off some of those electoral votes. Those 4 votes in 2016 went to Hillary Clinton. The president does not want to repeat that fate. He wants to make sure that he wins this state and as many states as possible.
David Spud. Vice President Mike Pence was in North Carolina despite at least 5 of his aides testing positive for COVID-19. Former VP Joe Biden spending the day at home in Delaware.
This morning, 9 days out from the election, his campaign called the lid for in-person events. He does have a virtual event later on this evening with his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, and we don't know what his plans are for tomorrow, but we do know he's heading to Georgia on Tuesday.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich. Senate Republicans have voted to advance Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett's nomination.
A near party line 51-48 vote in the Senate overcame an attempted filibuster by Democrats and advanced Supreme Court nominee Judge Amy Coney Barrett. All Democrats opposed moving forward with the nomination, in addition to Republican Senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski. Vice President Mike Pence is expected to preside over the Senate tomorrow evening when a final confirmation vote is set, making good on Republican hopes to confirm President Trump's 3rd Supreme Court nominee ahead of Election Day.
Fox's Jared Humphreys. President Trump sending a congratulatory tweet to leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan after the two sides agreed to a 3rd ceasefire agreement beginning at midnight in the Nagorno-Karabakh region. The two sides have blamed each other for the failure of 2 previous agreements. America is listening to Fox News.
You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
We are TFR. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
And greetings, Earth Explorers. Welcome to X Squared Radio. I'm your host, Brooks Agnew, coming to you live from an undisclosed location east of the Appalachian Mountains. We might go a little past your imagination, but have no fear. You will be safely traveling with us, because this is where the past meets the future. In here, the results are always positive. First, let me start out with my Religion of Peace report. Religion of Peace, in the last 7 days, conducted 31 attacks. In these 31 attacks, they killed 199 people, injured 220 innocent people, no suicide blasts, and spread their mayhem across 9 countries. All of this by the Religion of Peace. Nice to see you, Nextcast, out there at DLive. Very nice. Greetings to you as well. Danny, nice to see you on YouTube. I am monitoring all 6 platforms tonight. I'm monitoring the Truth Frequency Radio Network, which is the radio network that we have been broadcasting through for 6 years now. We're over 300 episodes with them. And this is, as far as radio platforms go, radio networks go, one of the top networks in America, and we are right at the top of the radio popularity on that program. I think 37 or 38 hosts. We are also coming to you live through YouTube and also Twitch and Periscope, which is Twitter, and Facebook, and DLive.tv. Now, we're really trying to get our numbers up on DLive.tv, so if you'll go sometime during the program tonight to DLive.tv /Brooks Agnew, follow the link in the YouTube chat or follow the link in the show description down below here. It's printed. You can go and support us at DLive. It's free to follow me, but once I get to 200, I can then share archives of the program. Right now, only people that are watching live in DLive can see us right now. We want to get up to 200 to make that happen. It's not particularly a high podcasting format. It's mostly for gamers. But if you like watching people play video games, it is a fantastic platform, let me tell you. It is a blockchain platform. It has no censorship whatsoever. So that is why we are trying to build a presence there, because we saw what happened to 20 of our colleagues 2 weeks ago, this last Thursday. The powers at Google decided to take them out of business, just canceled them, ended their accounts, flushed millions and millions of subscribers out to sea. They have no place to go. Many of them couldn't find their hosts again. They are scattered to the winds. Many of them are trying to go to DLive and to Twitch and to other formats and try to rebuild their empires. I don't know if you know how devastating this is. At first, they started to take away the monetization that we made from advertisements. You know what? I was kind of cool with that. I didn't care. It was a few dollars a week. Let them run ads all they want to my listeners, and we don't get paid a penny for it. Okay, we're fine with that. So we went around them and used Top Chat. Top Chat and on YouTube is the little square at the bottom with the $sign, and if you click that, you can put in any kind of donation you want. It comes straight to us once a month through Google. And what happened was many of these people were building a decent living doing this. Some of them were broadcasting every single day. And you think, okay, great, fantastic. People want to listen to you, then they can pay, they can come in, they can donate to you and help you keep your lights on. Wonderful. That's free enterprise at its best. Only it's not. Because Google can then decide, you know what, we don't like what you're saying. We don't like what you're saying because you're supporting the President of the United States. We want to overthrow America, and so we're going to take you off the air. They thought by doing this, they could end those voices of reason and that news and analysis that these other hosts were bringing. People like Red Pill 78 and X22 Report and SGT and others who had strong presence on YouTube. Look at the Amazing Polly. I mean, holy crap, over 1 million subscribers. Over 1 million subscribers. And now they're all gone, just as though they never existed. Their archives are gone. Their subscriptions are gone, their accounts are gone, and their living is gone. Plunged into poverty overnight. And I don't mind telling you that in these times, it's one thing to be fired at work, to go to work and have them say, you know what, business is bad. It's really bad. And we're not getting the stimulus that we were getting from the government. They can't decide. And we're out of money. And you say, you know what, I understand. We're all in this together. But when you have one of the world's, if not the world's richest company tell you, you can no longer be in our mall. You can't build your own audience in your own business. Forget about sink or swim on your own talents. That's hard enough. But to say you can no longer swim, that's something. What is it, Cherokee Drifter? From a disclosed location amid the Appalachian Mountains west of you, my grandkids live in, I won't mention the city, it's in the chat. Yes, you're right. It is a good city. It has been growing by leaps and bounds in the last decade. Really quite unbelievable, because over here in our county, which is Charlotte-Mecklenburg area, it's one of the 9 largest metros in the country. Outside of that, you have Cabarrus County, you have Gaston County, you have Lincoln County, which are pretty large counties, but they're more rural, and for a long time really didn't do anything. But then the county commissions got the smart idea, hey, why don't we build an industrial park? We'll push some roads back in here to this farm that hasn't grown anything in 20 years, and we'll spend the money to put in curbs and gutters and streets and streetlights and power and see what happens. And what happened is factories came. They came from Japan, they came from Europe, they came from all over the world to here to build factories. And guess what they did? They hired people. And when they couldn't find enough local people to hire, they brought people in. And when those people came in, they bought homes. And they opened up Minute Marts and malls, and they built more roads. And yes, so Gaston County, Lincoln County, Cabarrus County, they've all grown exponentially over the last 10 years. And the counties have benefited a lot. Their tax base has gone up. Their schools are way better. They are just really, really doing a fine job. North Carolina now has about 14.5 million people, and it is one of the premium states in the country. So I'm glad your grandkids are there. My grandkids are not far away up there in Lincoln County. Let's see. 4th stage of humanity is upon us. Total control, China style. Justin, pretty smart. Good observation. It is upon us. It is at the door. It is at the threshold, but it isn't here yet. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Let's start with the first story tonight. It's called Moguls in Space. In the 2013 science fiction film Elysium, I know many of you saw it. It starred Matt Damon, and it was, post-apocalyptic Earth. Everything was crap and dust and, high population, low productivity, pollution rampant everywhere, trash everywhere. The wealthiest top 0.01% of the people, they moved. They relocated to the ultimate gated community, a luxurious orbiting space colony, a big giant hooped city with an indoor paradise with artificial gravity. And it left a poverty-stricken humanity to fend for itself on a ravaged planet. Now, interestingly, it is indeed some of today's top 0.1% who are leading the way into space to build communities beyond Earth. However, quite the opposite of the movie. Their goals are of the highest order. From democratizing access to space by lowering costs, to creating new products and new ideas to helping save the planet and opening space to future generations. Yeah, it's true. And trust me, I'm communicating with several of these small companies that are becoming larger companies, not only by nature of the business that they're doing, but also because as each one of them kind of run out of money or posture themselves to sell and cash out of their ideas, they're being amalgamated, they're being gobbled up, they're being included into ever-increasing size of companies to where, what was once 1,500 companies is now 750 companies, is now 80 companies, and these are the companies that have the wherewithal, the people, the machines, the technology, the licenses, and everything to make stuff happen in space. Now, it never could happen before. It never could happen before because government was in the way, because the bureaucracies were in the way. But all that changed when President Trump became president. The first thing that he did is he drew his sword of Damocles and he went slicing at the agencies, the departments, the bureaus, and the administrations. Tens of thousands of regulations sliced out of the way. And the other thing that he did is he wrote executive orders. Why? Because Congress, our own Congress, is so corrupt, so tied up into the business of laundering taxpayer money to make themselves filthy freaking rich, that it left private industry out in the cold. We could not participate in space. With these regulations cut out of the way and with these executive orders in place, small private industry, companies with 10 employees, 15 employees, could then participate in the space race and in the exploration. All kinds of stuff, from retro rockets to electric drives to pressurized systems to computer software, all kinds of stuff. Given the effects of the coronavirus pandemic, social justice, and green movements, all of which have been counteractive to the growth of humanity, even as entrepreneurs like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson, and I'm going to put Bigelow in there as well because he's done a fantastic job with these inflatable living spaces in space. They spend billions of dollars to support a human breakout into space. There is a backlash building that holds these projects as icons of extravagance, even as their work may help save the Earth. This is what we're calling the Elysium effect. I ran into it the other day at the Cracker Barrel restaurant. I'm wearing my other hat, the hat that says "Make Space Great Again." So I eat my whatever it is breakfast I'm having, a country boy special or whatever it was. I went up to pay, and she noticed my hat. She said, "Make space great again." What is that supposed to mean? I said, "Well, it's the president. He's opening up space, and companies are beginning to participate in it. And where it was just reserved for the most elite, powerful, wealthy governments, now pretty much anybody can participate, and it's going to reap great benefits." And she said, "Well, here we are wasting all that money on space, and we can't even get good health insurance." I knew exactly where she was coming from. This is the Elysium effect. The Elysium effect. As in any good social movement, there is a need for bad guys. Got to have bad guys. Even if there aren't any, you have to make some. And these guys are easy icons of evil to many, okay? And there may be no easier target that could present than a shiny private rocket ship or space station, even if it is for a good cause. Most people at your average Cracker Barrel have no idea what helium-3 is, okay? Though they have many flaws, including, and if you've ever met Elon, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You better bring your own oxygen to the room, okay? It's just that kind of room, and most of these guys are that way. If you contribute, you'll be gobbled up. It's not a room of a negotiation. It's a room of rampant egos. These space pioneers are actually trying to do something good for humanity and for planet Earth. While they may not be the cuddliest of people, they just look at their other projects and goals. Musk builds electric cars, solar power systems. Bezos wants to move polluting heavy industry off planet, even as Amazon pushes towards zero emissions, and Branson is a longtime champion of social and environmental causes, and it goes on and on and on. Yes, Branson is having serious problems right now, and Bezos is too. Bezos doesn't even live in the United States anymore. He lives in his bunker in New Zealand. Yet these visionaries, who author Christian Davenport calls the space barons, I kind of like that. I'm going to leave the link in here. He has written a book called The Space Barons. I'm going to leave that link in here. They're portrayed as rich boys and with fancy toys. Things will get worse when the next wave of terribly branded space tours begin to fly. Bezos' Blue Origin, Branson's Virgin Galactic, Musk has his Starship. Yes, they are rather extravagant. You know, all this stuff has to be funded. All this stuff has to be, you know, self-sustaining in some way. One of the reasons that governments were the only ones able to do this kind of thing in the past is because the price tag was so high. And the only people that could really afford it was, well, you. They would just tax you. And you took it as long as you could take it. And then you said, hey, no more. We're not going to the moon anymore. We're not going to do this anymore. We're not excited about this anymore. What is that? Hovespain? Hovsepian. Okay, I think I got that right. Is there a way to see who is logged in here like the TFR chat? Well, you're on DLive, so you can see who's logged in. The people that are logged in on Facebook can't see you. The people that are logged in on Twitch can't see you, or YouTube can't see you. But I can see you. I can see all of the chatters, whether they're YouTube chatters. Professor Bauer's out there, and Justin Holt is out there, and Cherokee Drifter is out there. And Susie is out there. Yes, she says, hope your throat is feeling better. It is feeling better. There's still a little bit of an irritating cough that comes with this crap. Hello from the west coast of Canada. Sun glistening on the strait. Yeah, I want to hear more about that too. We're going to talk a little bit about that extreme northwest up there. And Top Drifter says, it's me again. This is my road name. Excellent. We should have road names. My road name is Vision Officer. Yeah, Vision Officer. I'll tell you how I got the name. Hello, Blue Otter. Nice to see you out there. Señor, ¿cómo está? We were in a meeting one time, and my business cards were on the table, and somebody picked one up, and they said, CVO. What is a CVO? I said, well, it's the Chief Vision Officer. I'm not really a Chief Executive Officer. I mean, I have a few executives that work for me, but they're their own people. They're independent. I value their skill sets and their advice. But I'm really the vision guy. I'm the guy that creates the vision, instills that vision in other people, and gets them excited about it so that they will chase it in their own way and pull the company along. So I'm the Chief Vision Officer. He said, I like that. It suits you. So that's my road name, Vision Officer. If you ever see that out there anywhere on social media, it's me. It's me. Yeah. Susie says, I am the finisher. I tell that story too. There's only two types of engineers. There are starters and there are finishers. We would be nowhere without the starters. We just wouldn't. That's where all the inventions come from. That's where all the groundbreaking happens. That's where all the half-done projects come from. Me, I'm the finisher. I'm the guy they bring in after that engineer's quit and gone home, spent all the money and left. And his parts are sitting there on the floor with no instruction manual. Nobody knows where they go. Nobody knows how they work. Nobody has a clue what he was even trying to build. They bring me in, and I can finish building it and make it work better than his original design. I'm the finisher. So it won't matter that throughout history it has often been the wealthy who invested in or supported major research programs, built the railroads. I mean, come on, those barons, they were as corrupt and nasty as they come. They used up people, they used up the land, and they had what was called eminent domain, which extended for 20 miles. 20 miles on both sides of the railroad, as far as the railroad went. And that's all the mineral rights as well. They owned the water, they owned the oil, they owned everything. Why do you think the railroad was so filthy rich? They were so rich the government had to step in and break them apart under the Sherman Antitrust Act. Same thing they're trying to do with Google right now, except that Google is about 500 times more wealthy and more powerful than the railroad ever thought about being. It's going to be one hell of a fight. The Cool thing is we get to watch it. Let's see. Their investments eventually created the low-cost infrastructure for the rest of society to utilize. Sometimes nations nationalize it, as is what happened in the Middle East. Sometimes nations make deals with the organizations that built the stuff, own the stuff, know how to operate the stuff. That's what happens when fascism occurs. Basically what happens is the corporate people infiltrate the halls of government, and then what happens is they are loyal employees while they are inside the government, and they make sure that nobody can come up behind them and compete with them. And that is fascism. Fascism picks the winners and picks the losers. And anybody else wants to get in the railroad business, anyone else wants to get in the space business, anybody else wants to get into the business of promoting or talking about who would be a good president or not, they are smashed. That's fascism. In the eyes of today's cultural rebels, the pioneering efforts of these space revolutionaries will be seen as stereotypical of the same extreme. Concentrated male wealth, toxic masculinity and power that has driven the earth to the brink of disaster over and over again. Maybe so. Maybe so. You know, I don't really know why. I don't know why women have not been the driving force to get us there. And maybe in some way it is. You know what they say, don't you, right? Behind every successful man is an astonished mother-in-law. There's always a woman behind the scene driving the man, right? I mean, the man is the head of the house, yes, we know this. But the woman, she's the neck. And the neck turns the head, right? Maybe she can't lift what he can lift. Maybe she can't run as far as he can run. She's smart. She has the emotion. She has the heart. Women have been responsible for a lot of things. Wars and the fall of angels. Of course, the situation is ironic. A social movement ready to upend the social order in the name of saving the planet, and then its people will attack the very people investing their wealth to try and save the people and the planet. I didn't have time at the Cracker Barrel to explain to her that helium-3 would make the energy it took to run their restaurant clean, renewable, radiation-free, and wouldn't bother a single blade of grass on this planet because it sits 2 days away. Well, 2 days away, right over there on the surface of the moon, on the south pole of the moon, in the in the Schrodinger's basin. While those in space, in the space industry, understand the goal is to open space to everyone by lowering costs over time, the fact that the initial spaceflight customers aren't everyone sends a bad message. Same thing with the North Pole Inner Earth expedition. We only have 125 seats. There are 20 million people who want to go. Now, 20 million people don't want to spend $25,000 a bed to go, so they don't. What we would like to have happen is the 20 million people give us 20 cents. 20 cents would give us about $5 million. That $5 million would be enough to charter the ship. It would be enough to get 125 of the world's top scientists, geologists, atmospheric scientists, oceanographers, people that can make studies in magnetometry and chemistry and sea life and help us build equipment to get down 1,400 meters to the bottom. 4,400 meters to the bottom and get samples off the bottom. All this technology is doable, but it takes money. It takes capital to make it happen. If 20 million people would contribute 20 cents, we would be able to put a system together so 20 million people could go with us, not on the ship, puking their guts up over the side, or wondering, oh my God, is this next wave going to destroy us? But they could be sitting at home and they could watch it 24 hours a day. They can go with us live. It could all happen It's all doable. We've put the entire system and all the capability together. All they have to do is participate. That's it. 20 cents. Got 20 cents? We could make it happen. Be it Musk and his President Donald Trump style tweeting, Branson playing the Playboy, Bezos building his billions on whatever some see as the backs of the underpaid Amazon workforce, they paint their own targets on themselves. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. More X Squared Radio right after this.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find us on Amazon or go to fastdiet.com and use promo code POWER to get $10 off your first box. As a special bonus, we will include our #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. Whatever your diet plans are, start with us at faststartdiet.com and use promo code POWER.
Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death. This is Uncle Walt from the Ironworks. Josh, Corey, and I have chosen to look at life with no fear. No fear of the unknown. No fear of questions about the supposedly well-known. No fear of ridicule for thinking outside the familiar fool's lines. No fear of the boot on the neck of those refusing the party line. No fear of taking on those so convinced of their beliefs they would sooner drink the Kool-Aid than believe they've been fools made. In this world filled with me too, cattle think, can truth's protective layers be peeled back to show the tender, juicy pink? Are we all just grist for the mill? Souls sold against our will, or is that just how it feels? When you're filled to the rim with trivialities so fear-filled and grim, break clear of the fear right here. Tuesdays and Fridays at 2 a.m. on TFR. Josh and I and you will hammer out the impurities of technology-driven groupthink, fold in a dash of logic, and quench it all with a bit of absurdity. The Ironworks. Break clear of the fear.
Real people, real radio. Wherever you are, make it TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
All right, welcome back, everyone. By the way, you see a little sticker on my hat right here. See this? I voted. I voted. It was really easy. Curbside service. Drove the truck up. Guys came out, gave me a little affidavit. I signed that, brought me my ballot. I filled it all out, took it inside, ran it in the machine. It was awesome. It was awesome. By the way, voting in our precinct, way up, like 50% higher than they've ever seen before. We only have about 43,000 registered voters in our precinct, and already 12,000 of them have voted. 12,000. That's just at one location. One location. It's crazy. I don't know. I think we're going to have like an amazing turnout. Hey, I have the Contact in the Desert ad up there if you're watching on video on any one of the 6 platforms that we're on. Actually, 5 of them are video. One of them is the Truth Frequency Radio Network. It is the one of the top networks in the country. Truth Frequency Radio Network is where the Truth Freaks hang out, and we are not afraid to let our Truth Freak flag fly. The rest of you are watching this as some kind of video stream, and it's all live. We're all doing it right now. So this is the Contact in the Desert advertisement. It is coming up June of 2021. Now, I know you're saying, wait a minute, it's just Halloween, like 2020. I know that, but there's a big difference with this. This year is the largest UFO conference in the world. Get that. The largest UFO conference on planet Earth. Yeah. The difference is this year, they're limiting the size. They're only going to take 8,000 people in. And it's going to sell out. It will sell out. We've never had that before. Usually it gets, close to that and they can manage the crowds and that's fine. Last year, it got crazy. Last year, it was so big that the rooms were so packed with people that it wasn't enjoyable for everyone. I mean, it was enjoyable for us, the speakers, because, people were standing up around all the chairs. But for organization, for a high quality of experience, they're going to limit the size. So this year it's going to sell out. So I'm putting the ad up early so that you can make your plans for next summer and just get your tickets now. Because I promise you, if you delay on this, it will sell out and you will miss it. We'll have to do another event somehow, somewhere, I don't know, to accommodate you. So I want to talk just a little bit more about space. I do want to acknowledge the people in the chat room. Locutus, good to see you out there from the Highland. I should say that another way. Locutus, good to see you out there from the Highland. Hello. I'm not a Highlander, okay? I'm on the west coast of Scotland, over in Stranraer. You know what I is? Stranraer is on overlooking the Irish Sea, on the other side of the ocean. So the Highlanders are a different kind of breed. I have to say that for them. But good to have you here. Leanne Williams is out there. Thank you so much. Raz. She says, crazy shit going on in America. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about that tonight, too. This is a 3-hour program, and it's not long enough, is it? Good bumper music. Thank you much. Susie. Let's see who else is out there. Justin Holt, good to see you. Wow. Don't all the space cowboys receive funding from the Department of Defense? Hence, the need for security clearances. Not sure we, the people, will reap any of the rewards. Disagree. A lot of the funding comes from DARPA. Some of the funding comes from the Department of Energy. Most of the funding comes right off the hip. I'm just telling you, we put up our own money. We put up our own money. And what we do is we go to the larger companies like SpaceX and like Bezos and others, and we sell them our components, whether they're retro rockets or brackets or containers or valves. All this stuff is unique. You don't just go down to a McMaster car and buy this stuff that goes on spaceships. Everything has to be built, and everything has to be designed. And there are innumerable components that go into these things. And it does not come from the Department of Defense. And we're already reaping the rewards from it. the satellites that are putting up the high-speed internet, which is going to be accessible by everyone. You will not have to be connected to a cable somewhere like I am tonight, and where we may be cut off or interrupted because of the people that own the little wire that goes down the street to the hub. This will be direct access to space. So there'll be thousands and thousands of satellites. We'll be able to get internet in the rural areas, industrial parks right now, industrial parks that don't have the internet. Can you freaking believe that? Well, it's true, because I was in one. My plant was in one. I had 33,000 square feet, a 3,000 square foot office space, no internet. No internet. Sorry, we just didn't have it. We didn't want to spend $26,000 to get it, so we got a broadband router from Verizon, and it worked wonderfully until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then everyone would get on it, and it was for crap. You couldn't even send an email. It was nutso. It was crazy. It wasn't internet. So that's coming. That's coming. That's one of the benefits. Energy is another benefit. If we get to helium-3, fusion power, all of our nuclear power plants, we won't have to dig up our planet and make it radioactive anymore. It'll all be run off clean, pure, pollution-free helium-3. Helium-3 fusion rocketry will get us to Mars in 70 days instead of 7 months. Huge difference in the way that we can improve our space travel. That's just for starters. There are so many benefits that come from space you would have no idea. Everything from yarn making, dye making, chemistry, health benefits, all kinds of stuff that come from space research. And no, it's not all by the Department of Defense. Some of it is, yes, because we realize that having the high ground is a good defensive position. We can tell you irrefutably that the first nation to control the moon will control the earth. I'm just telling you, if we let China establish a military structure on the moon, they will control the earth. Simple as that. The race is on, buddy. The race is on. Let's see. What is it? Kim Alcedo, who's on, says on October 20th, Carrie Cassidy talked to Carrie Cohan, who is a BC Canadian currently living in Portugal. They discussed the fact that the Chinese CCP have built and are building a palace, looking headquarters in Surrey, BC, Canada, which is super close to the U.S. border. What do you know of this? Previous BC Premier, Christina Joan Clark, introduced this scenario as a live lab between the Chinese and British Columbian Canadians. I have friends that live in BC up there, and there is a strong Chinese presence up there. They can't help it. They cannot help it because it's Chinese money, lots of it. When we live in an age when governments step in with their fascist forces, and I will explain that to you, what they do is they prevent private industry from investing in certain things. You know, I don't have to go very far, not very far at all. Maybe a 10-minute drive from here in any direction, and I can walk 1 million square feet of empty factory space. Empty. Some of it had factories on the floor at one time, and they're gone. Some of it has never had an employee walk across the concrete. Grass is growing up in the parking lot. The paint is fading. The buildings are aging, and they've never been occupied, not even 1 second. You know why? Because there's no money. There's no capital for companies to come in and occupy those buildings and get business going. No capital. You know who controls that capital? The government. The government passed a series of regulations that make it illegal, against the freaking law, for small business to access money. That has to end. Now, I've been writing the president consistently since before he was elected. Okay? I went up to Trump Tower during transition between the time election happened and the time the inauguration happened. I went up again. I explained as clearly as I can. If you don't get these 2 regulations off our backs, these factories will never fill up. Not in your administration, not in subsequent administrations. Will never happen. You've got to end Dodd-Frank. Dodd-Frank is what makes it illegal for banks to loan money to business startups. Sorry, it's against the law. Doesn't matter what their credit is. Doesn't matter what they have for assets. Doesn't matter what their idea is or the customer base or the POs they have in hand, customers they have pre-sold. None of that matters. They can't use it as collateral. It's against the law. That's Dodd-Frank. The second thing that has to happen is we've got to put Glass-Steagall back in place. Glass-Steagall was a series of regulations that were put in place way back in 1933. They were designed specifically to keep the banks out of securities speculation. And what happened? Bill Clinton repealed the last of the Glass-Steagall components. And under the Obama administration, what happened was that banks were able to become incestuous with securities companies. So banks started brokering securities. Of course, you know what happened, right? You know what happened. The earth began to prosper in the sense that the stock market exploded. The stock market exploded because the banks took pension funds and poured them into the stock market. And this caused the amount of capital in the stock market to explode. Of course, the only way that a business startup can access money is to do one of two things. Either play the lottery, which is actually not bad odds considering the other possibilities to raise money for a small business, or they could do reverse mergers and they could go into the stock market and do public offerings. Well, most of the companies chose the latter. All my competitors in electric vehicle business did this, including Tesla Motors. They all did this. They all did reverse mergers with existing publicly trading corporations and went into the public trading business. Immediately, like within minutes, as soon as the stock went live, these large institutional traders like Citigroup naked shorted the stock. They used their seat on the exchange to issue stock and sell it at a discount into the market. And the stock didn't exist. It wasn't real. It was fake. It was phony stock. We call it phantom shares. Of course, people would buy it, right? They would buy it. And what would happen is these companies would put the money right in their pockets. And then they would issue bad press on those companies and drive the stock down. It's called market making. As they drove the stock down, they would make money on the shorts. Of course, they didn't own the stock. They didn't own the stock. And 60,000 companies, not 6,000, not 600, 60,000 American corporations were driven into bankruptcy this way. They tried to do Tesla Motors. They did naked short the stock. Hundreds of millions of shares. They did issue bad press. They did hire market makers. And when Time magazine wrote their scathing article about their testing of the Tesla vehicle on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, it drove the stock down, and we all thought that was it for them. We all thought they're done. They've finished them because they had them over a barrel. They weren't making money. They hadn't made money since the day the company was formed. All this bad press was coming out. The stock was going down, down, down. It was like $19 a share. And the people that I knew that had actually invested in Tesla Motors were pissed as hell because the stock, they invested at $23, $24, $25 a share. It was now down to 19, and it was threatening to delist. Elon was smart. He went and grabbed the black box out of that car that Time magazine had trashed and downloaded the information from it and discovered that, in fact, Time magazine person drove the car poorly. He drove it at 100 miles an hour. He rolled the windows down, turned the heat up full blast. He forced the batteries into a dead condition and had to have the car towed. The interesting thing was that the car actually outperformed its design specs. It actually took everything that guy threw at it and did it better. It exceeded it. And so Elon, in his brilliance, as egotistical as he is, issued a press release, spent a lot of money on it, and said, oh, by the way, the car actually outperformed its design specs. The stock bumped just a little bit, just about $2, went up to about $21, something like that. You can't quote me on the exact number, but there was a slight bump. Well, what that did is it caught Citigroup with their pants down around their ankles because they didn't own the stock, and the stock didn't go down. It went up. All those naked shorts came due. They came due, which means they had to deliver the shares. Those are the rules. The stock goes up, your short doesn't work. You have to deliver the shares. Well, they didn't own them. They made them up. They created them out of nothing. They lied. They broke the law. So rather than lose their seat on the exchange, they had to go buy the shares. They had to go buy the shares to deliver them. And the stock went from $21 to about $210 in just a few days. Of course, while it was ramping up and going crazy, Tesla Motors sold more treasury stock into the market, took advantage of that ride. They raised an extra $600 million in pure cash, equity, straight off the market. They went to the Department of Energy, which was choking them to death on a $70 million loan guarantee that they were very slowly responding to invoices for, slowly choking Tesla Motors to death. Another great fascist trick, by the way. And they paid the loan off 9 years early. And Elon Musk told the Department of Energy to pound sand. And the rest is electric vehicle history. If it was not for the genius and the fortitude of Elon Musk, Tesla Motors would be long gone and there would be no electric vehicles on the American highway. That's the battle. That's the battle. So when we talk about what's going on up there in BC, the reason that it's happening is because Canada is in the same boat we are. The fascists have their hands around the ball sack of that country, and they're choking it. They're squeezing it. So the only source of money in the world is China. And so the Chinese business people, which are basically the Chinese government, they can't come to the United States because they can't get visas to come here. But they can get visas to go to Canada. And they go. And they have been coming into BC for a long time. You want to try to go buy a condo somewhere up there with a good view of the strait? Good luck. You better be willing to get off the hip about $1 million. Because the Chinese have driven the price of real estate absolutely through the freaking roof up there. Why? Because they know if they can make it to Canada and they can assimilate well enough, and they can, they're smart, they're well educated, they're well funded, and people love their money. They love their money. It's not hard to get a visa to come to the U.S. from Canada. Not hard at all. Over time, that's exactly what they do. Then they come here to Charlotte. Not long ago, they bought a big building in Charlotte. It was in the paper. They loved it. They had a big party. It was wonderful. I don't know. It was a $10 million building, something like that. Incredible buy. And the Chinese came in and paid cash for the building. Let me tell you something. It doesn't matter where you go. Boston, Delaware. It doesn't matter if you go to Miami. It doesn't matter if you go to L.A. It doesn't matter if you go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. It does not matter. Chinese money is welcome. Absolutely. If the Chinese would have come in to our little factory down here in Mount Holly, and they would have said, we have $50 million to get this plant up and running, you think I would have turned it down? Well, maybe, but I don't think I would have, because I think I could have outstripped it. But the same thing happened with Tesla Motors. When Tesla Motors was on its butt, about to go under, who was it that stepped in and helped them in Long Beach? No, it wasn't the Chinese. It was the Japanese. It was Toyota. Toyota loaned them a building to build Teslas in. Toyota came and invested $50 million. $50 million in Tesla Motors when they were on their can. Elon had already put all his money in, 47 million plus. It was Toyota that came in and gave him money and got him up and going. Maybe it was a little technology sharing, I don't know. But I could just tell you, this is what happened. So these are the great stories and what is making American industry work right now in our country, in all around the world. When President Trump came in and decided to make America America first, he moved these regulations out of the way. He allowed capital and business and factories to come in from all over the world. Now, admittedly, first 3 years, that's low-hanging fruit. Yes. You can go to these different companies and have them come over here and build a factory in Wisconsin or build a factory in this state or that state. That's the low-hanging fruit. But that doesn't help American startups. I get your point. All right. Hovsepian says, U.S. spends all its money exporting war while China is scooping up resources everywhere for cheap. Old headline, dude. Old headline. We don't export war anymore. We used to. Under the Obama administration, it was War Inc. It was Wars Are Us. Abso-freaking-lutely it was. But since Trump came in, all that ended. All that ended. We don't export war anymore. We export peace. What we did is we rebuilt our military. And we use our military to keep the other forces in check so that peace can happen. That's what's happening. That's why we're seeing all these peace agreements being made, because peace is being exported. Peace through superior firepower. We can now prevent Saudi Arabia from bombing Yemen. We can now prevent Iran from feeding money to Hamas, which fires missiles into 6 different countries in the Middle East. We can now prevent Russia from being aggressive with Europe. We can now prevent NATO from sucking money down a rat hole and support their own military needs. This is how it's happening. We're not exporting war. We're exporting peace. You want to see war? You really like war? Vote the Democrats back in. You'll see war happen. Wars R Us is dying to get back into business. And as far as China, Nextcast is correct. China's grab of rare earth elements in South America and Africa are troubling. Also the United States, by the way. It's not just troubling, it's a plan. See, China puts out the rhetoric that we need to have wind, we need to have solar. Who makes the solar panels? China. Who makes the batteries for the electric cars? China. Who drives the electric cars? We do. Europe does. You think China drives electric cars? You're kidding yourself. China doesn't build electric cars. They don't drive electric cars. They build them for us. They don't buy solar panels. They build them for us. They build all the components and everything for the windmills. We buy all of our heavy tools. When I mean by heavy tools, I mean molds, anywhere from 3,000 kilograms to 15,000 kilograms. These are big injection mold tools. We buy them all from China. Nobody can touch them. They're made out of our old crushed cars. They bought all of our scrap steel. They came in and bought out all of the junkyards in our country. They bought all of the equipment out of all of the factories that I helped tear apart in the early 2000s. It's all sitting in China. The reason they're the ones that make all these tools, that make all these components, is because they cornered the market on it all using our money, using the $500 to $800 billion trade deficit. They used our money to capture that market. And here's the thing. Solar panels are wonderful. But you know where they would really be most beneficial, you think? Is near the equator, right? They got the most sunshine. Well, where in the United States do we have a state that's close to the equator? That's correct. Hawaii. You would think Hawaii has a lot of solar farms. And guess what? They do. If you go there, some of the other islands and out in the country, I know it's kind of odd to say out in the country on an island, but yes, they have lots of solar panels. Is it working? No. You know why it's not working? Because the peak demand in Hawaii is about 2 hours after the sun starts going down in Hawaii. It's that way everywhere, except the peak demand happens a minimum of 2 hours. Sometimes it's 4 hours after the sun goes down or begins to go down. You lose that peak. So, hang on a second. Think about it. Why? Let's take a quick break. I'll explain why when we come back.
Hi, my name is Ella, and I'm 10 years old. I'm one of the millions of children born to parents suffering from the sheeple virus. Symptoms include the inability to think for oneself, the attention span of a goldfish, and a strong belief in government and the mainstream media. It is estimated that 1 out of every 2 children are being raised by parents infected with the sheeple virus. But there is a cure here. For as little as 19 cents per day, you can become a TFR supporter and help children like me get their daily dose of truth. Together, we will make sure every child has protection from deception.
Signs of a record turnout. I'm Joe Cheer on Fox News. More than 58 million Americans have voted early. That number already surpasses the total number of early votes in 2016. The heavy turnout began with Democrats, but Republicans are catching up now that in-person early voting has begun in some states. President Trump visited a farm in Bangor, Maine today, where he bought a pumpkin after holding a rally in Manchester, New Hampshire. He told the crowd that China and foreign countries will benefit from Joe Biden.
He wants to raise taxes on American factories and give preferential treatment to Chinese factories. There's nobody that wants to see us raise taxes on companies more than China and other countries, because they're going to pick up the business. So remember this, if Biden wins, China wins.
Vice President Pence had a stop today in North Carolina. Former VP Joe Biden hosting a virtual event tonight. His vice presidential nominee, Kamala Harris, campaigned in Michigan, where she accused Republicans of trying to suppress votes in some areas that favored Democrats.
They know when we vote, things change. They know when we vote, we win. They know it. So let us not let anyone ever take our power from us.
Harris had 3 stops in Michigan. Senate Republicans today voted to advance the nomination of Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett to a full Senate vote. She's expected to win confirmation during that vote tomorrow night. Newly formed tropical storm Zeta crawling along in the western Caribbean. But forecasters say it could become a Category 1 hurricane, bringing heavy rain to the Yucatan. The storm's expected to affect the Gulf Coast from Louisiana to the Florida Panhandle on Wednesday. America is listening to Fox News.
You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Second hour of America Free Radio, coming to you live from an undisclosed location east of the Appalachian Mountains, streaming live on the Truth Frequency Radio Network, where the Truth Freaks hang out. We will treat, cure, and prevent the disease of ignorance. We're also streaming live on six different platforms, 5 of them video: YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, which is Periscope, and also DLive. And we implore you to get over to dlive.tv, dlive.tv/Brooks Agnew. The link is right down here in the description. Click on there. Please support us by following us. It's free. It means it don't cost nothing, and it will help us in the blockchain. Once we get to 200 followers, we can then list archives, and people can watch them when we're not live, which is important because we talk about important things here. Let's see. I was having a discussion with Eric and a couple others out there that were talking about that we export war, and he said, "I'll believe it when I see it." And I said, "We are seeing it, Eric. No more wars." And he said, "Not the crap Middle East wars." I'm thinking the big one, China and Russia. It could happen. You got to remember, Russia is not the Soviet Union. You got to get that out of your head, okay? I have a lot of good Russian friends. I have Russian partners. I can tell you they're good people, hardworking people, smart people, tough people that can take a lot. I mean, they can take a lot. And when we're talking about Russia first, yeah, there's a Russia first, you bet. They don't want to own the world. They don't want to take over the world. Russia is a gas station posing as a country, okay? They're tiny. They're tiny. Their military's like a 50th of our size. They don't want war with anybody. They're trying to be strong so they don't get taken over. What is their competition? It's China. It's China. And it's also the Muslim countries, because the Muslims have been trying to take over that region of the world for a long, long time. The only person really standing in between that takeover and peace is Russia. So I don't think Russia wants war with the United States. You kind of have seen this kind of drop out of the news too. The sanctions that are on Russia are specific to certain transactions that take place. There are players in Russia that cyber attack us, that try to destabilize our election and things like that. But it's ideological. It isn't state-sponsored terrorism or anything like that. China, it's a different story. I'm going to cover that in more detail later, so I'm going to save that part. That is a little bit different. That war, I'm sorry to say, Eric, we're already in it. We're already fighting it. We're already fighting it. I want to let you know that coming up on November 7th is the next Manifestation Masterclass. We've actually been quite successful with this. It hasn't been huge like I thought, not hundreds of people per class, but certainly dozens. And people are benefiting from it, and it's good. People are writing books, they're opening businesses, and this is where it happens. This is where we affect the universe. And if you're out there and you're over, say, 42 years old, you don't have a 401k to manage, you've done everything you're supposed to, everything you had to, and now you want to do what you want to do. You already see time is running out. You're already seeing that they shortened years by a couple of months, right? You think years are 12 months. No. By the time you hit 40, they shortened to about 10 months. By the time you get to 60, years are 6 months long. That's all you get, 6 months. Gone. So you have to get busy. And the way to get busy is to break through. And this is a breakthrough class for you. It's 5 hours spread over 2 Saturdays at noon Eastern time. It's the best $47 you're going to spend on yourself. Go to my website, brooksagnew.com, brooksagnew.com. The link is right down here in the bottom. Click on the webinars link, okay? And find out. We will meet face-to-face on a video call, and then if need be, we'll meet face-to-face one-on-one, and take your business to where it needs to be. Okay, let's break through together. Remember, we access the present from the future. All right, let's get back to it. The space industry, I'm going to go ahead and leave this in here in my notes, And you can access my notes very easily by going to the website, americafreeradio.com. Right on the front is a button that says Show Notes, Show Prep. Click that button, and it will take you to a calendar that has this Sunday on it, and you can download the notes for yourself and do your own research. We try to put everything in there. All the links are in there so you can follow them and do your own research. Remember, Elysium was just a movie. Star Trek is a creation of the imagination. But science fiction can also help us choose between possible realities, viewing the present from the future. Applying the analogy of robber barons to this generation of space pioneers is very convenient, but it doesn't hold. It doesn't apply. That's not what's happening. These people, they're not perfect, okay? But they are trying to do the right thing. And I am clear that at their core, they believe life is precious. Human life is precious, not just theirs. And that even as we work to save the earth today, they are putting their money down on ways to build a better tomorrow for all of us. I know, I hear you. There are people out there that say, screw tomorrow, send me $100. There are people that will do that. We've seen it happen. We've seen it in South Africa. We've seen it in Israel when paradise was carved out of the wilderness. Irrigation, roads, railroads, generators, water management, orchards, crops, livestock, all put into place, all self-sustaining, all a great ecology of not just economics, but also of the waste product from one feeding the feedstock of the other. Everything is complementary. Generations of work and research, checking the breed of plants to be able to resist disease, and irrigation technologies and fertilizer technologies, and all of this put in place, and then have it confiscated either by the government or by warlords, and not within years, within weeks, all the food is consumed, all the animals are eaten, all the seed is consumed, all the wells have been fouled, and it turns right back into the rusty, cankered, dusty, crappy, filthy mess it was before all that energy and love and technology was put in. Yes, you could take the short money. You could be like the lady at the Cracker Barrel, and you could say, screw space technology, screw energy and clean energy and all that. I want my health insurance. You could say that. You could say that. And by the way, be clear about it when you say it. It is health insurance, not health care. Let's talk a little bit about what Eric is worried about and what many people are worried about right now before they go to the polls. And you heard on the news we have record turnouts everywhere. It is happening. Even here in our county, we only have about 45,000 registered voters in our precinct, and already almost 12,000 of them have voted. That's pretty crazy. And that's 12,000 at one polling station. One polling station. We have several. I voted down at the Embassy Suites Hotel. Curbside service. Very nice, very nice. Very cool. Didn't even have to get out of the truck. Others, fire stations, schools, things like that. Election day is going to be up here at the school. One voting place, almost 12,000 people. I think we're going to be pretty close to 70 or 80% turnout of registered voters. You know, the last time we've seen that? Never. Since this county has been a county, we've never seen voter turnout like that. I can tell you what I think it means. I think it means that the electorate is aware of what's going on. Well, Eric says, my fear is the Russian Reds returning. Maybe. But here's the thing. I told you, Russia's a gas station posing as a country. The Soviet Union was something totally different. They had Kazakhstan, Estonia, Latvia. They had all these other countries. They had Crimea. They had all these other countries with all their resources. Rocket plants and tank plants and mines and railroads. They had all that as part of their organization. Not anymore. Not anymore. Because my friends in Kazakhstan, it's Kazakhstan first. My friends in Estonia, Estonia first. Latvia first. Czech Republic first. They're never becoming part of a conglomerate like that again. Everybody in the world understands one thing very clear, including the Chinese. Not the CCP, but the Chinese. And that one thing is decentralized government is the key to world peace. Decentralized. Not one central place of government. Because what happens when you get one central place of government is you get one central place of power. And once you get that one central place of power, it tries to be self-preserving at the cost of everything else. We're seeing it right now in our own country. Yes, we are. We're seeing it right now in our own country. I call this the Silicon Communist Party. I'm just checking the chat here. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on in here. Yes, Zulus are the Vikings of Africa. I get that. Mona's out there. Good to see you, Mona. I'm glad you're there. And Kathleen Perez. Let's see. What is it saying out there? I love that in Star Trek. That represents faster than light speed without Einstein's expansion. Yes, warp drive. Well, I mean, you have to do it because you only have a half-hour show. You can't, like spend the whole season to get past Jupiter, right? You have to have warp speed. All right. We know why big tech suppresses stories unfavorable to Beijing's chosen candidate, Joe Biden, while simultaneously giving Chinese Communist Party propaganda a megaphone. We already know this. It turns out citizens of the People's Republic of China run Facebook's Department of Censorship. Yes, they do. The New York Post reports the Facebook hate speech engineering, yes, they really do call it that, team, that includes at least half a dozen foreign nationals recruited from communist China. This is the crew that is smothering the Hunter Biden laptop story. How many people out there have heard about the Hunter Biden laptop story? That's a pretty good group. I have a very informed audience. I'm going to give you a little bit more information. The New York Post reported this. The hate speech engineering team's staff includes a research scientist based at the Seattle office who earned his master's degree in computer engineering from the Chinese Academy of Sciences in Beijing. Close quote. Other team members come from Jilin University in northeast China, Nanjing University in eastern China, and the Communist Party-backed conglomerate Huawei. These computer engineers are building and deploying artificial intelligence algorithms to smother what they call wrongthink in your news feed, an insidious form of censorship that doesn't tell you your news has actually been scrubbed. Fact, my 20 colleagues, X22 Report, Space Shot, Amazing Polly, Red Pill 78, my colleagues were all scrubbed. They were scrubbed by the Silicon Communist Party. Their algorithms likely are right now burying the intelligence report based on public sources. And these that shows high-ranking Chinese Communist government officials showering the Biden family with hundreds of millions of dollars. Hunter Biden's 2013 Bohai Harvest Rosemont investment partnership was set up by People's Republic of China Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's right, just above the Deputy Chief Director of Paper Towels. This is a state-managed operation with direct ties to the Politburo. At one time, foreigners were not allowed to own U.S. radio or television stations, lest they use the mass media to influence American public opinion. We didn't allow it. You could own a portion of it, but you couldn't own more than 50%. And that was the exact reason why. Now, foreigners who have no understanding of traditional American values, of free speech, are imposing the values of the regimented collectivist society where they were raised and educated on Americans. That's right. They are remaking American society according to the Chinese Communist Party's ideal, one that prizes social conformity and obedience. Wear your mask. Don't question the government. Authority above all else. We know this only because of leaks by a former Facebook employee. If not for an outraged whistleblower, we would not know citizens of a communist totalitarianism state are shaping the discourse surrounding American politics and this election. If you didn't listen to X22, if you didn't listen to Space Shot, if you didn't listen to Red Pill 78 or America Free Radio, you would not know these things because you are forbidden from being told these things in the mainstream media. Mark Zuckerberg, the man who imagines himself Caesar Augustus, is paying them to do it. When he is called before Congress or the Senate, he sits there very smugly and smiles. You know why? Because he knows, and they know, if he puts them in Facebook jail for 30 days, they lose their election. If he prioritizes their opponents' advertisements and statements that are made in a positive way about their opponent, they will lose their elections. He can manipulate the power in Washington. The same thing with Google, the same thing with Twitter, the same thing with YouTube. Internal company documents released by Project Veritas also reveal Facebook has a policy of hiring H-1B visa workers instead of Americans. Why? They're not smarter. They're just more in line with the company ideals. And Chinese and Korean visa workers have priority over other visa workers like Indians. When hiring for HR positions, it's important to prioritize H-1B visa workers, and this will stimulate the process of diversification of the workplace. That's what it says, a leaked March 2020 document. The memo also says, and I quote, priority may be given to H-1B applicants from China and Korea to foster larger communities of diverse workers at Facebook, close quote. Yes. Promoting diversity is really just a fig leaf to cover Zuckerberg's true motivation. Yes, it does slash Facebook payroll costs, but there's more to it than that. Just as Beijing exploits Silicon Valley's addiction to cheap H-1B labor, the Valley's commitment to globalism also makes it an unwilling dupe of the CCP. Beijing now presents itself as the defender of globalization against President Trump's America First policies. But Beijing's Marxist rulers are using the ideology and institutions of globalism as a Trojan horse to defeat us. And they're winning. They're winning. Oh, hey, Cristoval, Texas. Wes Turn is out there. Hey, Mr. Agnew, love your show, brother. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're out there. Thank you very much. Yes, I understand. Mark says he could lose his security access, which could make him ineligible to be president. He's talking about Joe Biden. And Kamala is not eligible either. Null election. Yeah, it is a null election. We've had this argument about Kamala Harris's citizenship status. She's an anchor baby. Now, I had this discussion with another individual, and he said, well, she was born in the United States, and according to the 14th Amendment, she's now a U.S. citizen. That's not exactly true, because the 14th Amendment talks about people that are born in this country not subject to the laws of a foreign government, which, being born of a Jamaican father and an Indian mother, she would be. She's a subject of those countries, same as if you come over from Mexico. If you're born here to Mexican parents, you are subject to the Mexican Constitution and Mexican laws. If you don't believe me, ask them. They will tell you that's exactly true. So thus, being subject to the laws of another jurisdiction, you are not eligible to run for president of the United States. An anchor baby cannot run as president of the United States. And I've told you before, nobody cares about Kamala Harris. Nobody cares. She didn't raise any money. She didn't have any delegates. She's never won a legitimate election in her life. Every time she opens her mouth, it's a lie. So why is she still there? Nobody cares about her. They care about her husband. Her husband, Doug. Good old Doug. Yep. He is a partner in an organization called DLA Piper. DLA Piper is a law firm. Has over 140 attorneys in it, of which he is a partner. Many of those attorneys are Chinese communist officers. Yes, they are. Chinese communist officers that serve inside this law firm. The law firm defends intellectual property and defends the CCP inside the United States. If Joe Biden is elected, Kamala Harris will then be the vice president. She will have an office, and he, being her husband, will have an office in the West Wing. Yes, the CCP wants an office in the West Wing of the White House. This is the issue. Neither one of them are eligible for security clearances, so they can't be there, and yet they will be there. So it is forming up around us. So a little history. In ancient times, the Chinese emperor kept massive cauldrons as symbols of his authority. When a dynasty changed and power shifted, the cauldrons were moved. A rival who asked how much the emperor's cauldrons weighed tipped his hand that he planned to change the ruler. In 1995, Beijing gifted the United Nations an ancient cauldron dedicated to the 21st century. It revealed its strategy and violated the Chinese proverb, never ask the weight of the emperor's cauldrons. The tech giants subscribe to the idea of global citizenship with religious fervor. They don't see themselves as American, but as global corporations. On the micro level, Google, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube make the World Health Organization the arbiter of right think on the China virus. It might be worth asking if any Chinese nationals were involved in that decision, considering the CCP bought and paid for the World Health Organization. We have long worried that Communist China's digital totalitarianism, a system in which the government uses the big data, social credit score. We use now the credit bureau, but it could just as well be the same thing. It determines where you work, where you live, whether you can board a plane or a train or move to another state. It's going to be imposed on us. You watch. Now, we see it as worse than that. Thanks to Facebook, the Chinese Communist Party is using Americans as lab rats to perfect the AI techno-surveillance censorship apparatus. It plans to export this throughout the world. They follow you everywhere. It doesn't matter where you move, because wherever you move, that's where you are. We know the idiots most useful to the Chinese Communist Party are in Silicon Valley. The tech lords have onboarded the operating system of Beijing's totalitarian collectivism, exalting social conformity and central control over free speech and free thought, and globalism over American nationhood. And we're seeing that happen right before us. 2 generations of students have been taught this over and over and over again. I want you to remember that from now on, the rest of our program tonight, the phone lines will be open. 213-233-3998. You can call us from anywhere and ask me anything. I don't screen the calls. I'm very nice. I'll be good on to you on the phone, I promise, if you're good to me. And we'll have a good conversation. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and talk about the Planned Parenthood money machine. You won't like this, but we have to talk about it. We'll be right back after this.
It's amazing how people have been raving about iLife all over Facebook. They've been posting their testimonials just because they want to get the word out because it's worked so well for them. If you're not familiar with iLife, it's a 99% pure CBD oil, but the secret is the synergy between the hemp and the ayahuasca vine, the non-psychoactive component of the ayahuasca tea. We recently received an email from a wife whose husband has Parkinson's. For the first time, he's been able to sleep through the entire night. Another customer reported that they're no longer using NSAIDs because their tennis elbow has been relieved with iLife. The reports have been phenomenal and much more than we ever expected. Everyone should have access to this. That's why if you head on over to iLife.com right now and use coupon code TFR, we'll give you $5 towards your order. And we'll even ship it worldwide. That's iLife.com, AYA life.com.
Your home has needs. It needs a healthy, dry environment all year round. Start by getting rid of the worst air in the basement and crawl space, where the problems begin and make the whole house sick. Introducing the new Smart Wave Ventilation Unit. It has advanced technologies to continuously reduce moisture, mold, and odors, and expel radon, gases, and pollutants. And now, Wave units include carbon monoxide detection to automatically expel air at a high rate and send you an alert. It also has an app so you can remotely monitor the conditions. Wave is a comprehensive, maintenance-free, affordable solution that will transform your entire home. Protect your home and with what family needs. Give it a new Smart Wave Ventilation Unit. For more information, call 888-717-WAVE. That's 888-717-WAVE. Or go to dryhealthyhome.com. That's dryhealthyhome.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Hey everyone, it's Mark Sargent from Strange World, broadcasting live every Tuesday evening, 10 to 12 Eastern, 7 to 9 Pacific, right here on True Frequency Radio. Strange World covers a wide range of topics, from enclosed world theory to lunar waves to the end of the world in film. It's basically doomsday with a silver lining. With the audience as my co-host, we take an optimistic approach to all things conspiracy and promote confidence, hope, and humor whenever possible. If there's a topic you want us to cover or a guest you would like to see interviewed, please email me at msargent23@comcast.net. So please join me and tell your friends about Truth Frequency Radio, the leader in real radio programming, bringing you quality, cutting-edge broadcasts from around the world.
You are now tuned into the Truth Frequency.
Your protection from deception. TLR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
I've been waiting for this moment since my first breath in. Never would have thought I'd be afraid to begin, but here I am, the edge of the water, wondering if I can swim. Never seem to notice all the things I pass through, but in this final moment, I'm still chasing the truth. I want an explanation why I can't stay here forever in my youth. And if I press on, will you wait? will you wait?
Wish I could stay with you here forever. But by the way, thank you all out there watching. Some of you are chatting and some of you aren't. I'm glad you're out there. Believe me, I can see you out there with the sound on your TV off watching the Dodgers play right now. Maybe somebody will be nice enough to send me the score. I also have a lot of friends. Somebody on DLive asked the question, where can I find a list of DLive podcasts, not gamers, just podcasts? DLive is a blockchain platform. And here's what you do, Seventh Orbit. Up there at the top in DLive, there's a search window. Write the word podcast in the search window and hit search. What will happen is it will bring up several folders at the bottom. The first one, I believe, is podcasts. So if you click on that folder, everybody that's podcasting live at that moment will come up. Now, sometimes there isn't anybody because there are not many podcasters on DLive. We're one of the pioneers. There are a few others out there, but not many. We're trying to build the podcast platform presence in DLive. We hope that it takes off. Some of my friends have small presences there, as do we. I believe it's a great platform. I believe that as YouTube continues its slash and burn statism and eliminates free speech right and left, that these great voices, 20 of my colleagues already cast to the wind. Some of them have given up, gone away. Others have persevered, tried other things. They're not the first. Others have already been slashed out of there. My friends at let's see, Carrie Cassidy has gone to Alignable and other formats to try to keep her audience alive. She's still on YouTube, but we don't know how much longer that's going to last. I have other friends, Greg, and I'm trying to remember what his other name is. They had a program on YouTube for a long time, and they formed their own TV channel and are rocking it now and brought a lot of their audience over. They kind of paved the way for us. Others are on Twitch. Some people have tried it on Facebook, but they're running into the same problems there. They're running on Twitter through Periscope. They're running into the same kind of censorship there. So we realize that all the viewers are at YouTube. YouTube's the mall. YouTube is the super mall. But we want to keep reaching our audience. And so what we're going to have to do is try to wean our audience out of YouTube, out of the statist, censored platform, which is YouTube, and bring them over to DLive.tv. Now, admittedly, DLive TV is just a couple dudes, running it out of their garage right now, but it is going to grow. And the more podcasters that come over there, the more people that follow and join in and start watching us live on DLive.tv/Brooks Agnew, the more the platform is going to grow. And nobody can stop it. Nobody can stop it. Once we get this platform up and going, it'll be like the blockchain that's self-sustainable in the system. We will not be relying on Google to make it work. YouTube was wonderful until Google took it over, and then it became very censored. You're very welcome, Seventh Orbit, so now you know how to do that. It took me a while to figure that out, too. Yes, sorry to say, Mark, they got Amazing Polly, too. I don't know what happened to her. She had 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and she's gone. As far as I know, I have not heard of her landing anywhere. And it's happening to others, too. Yes. And I wish I could list them all. I do them disservice by listing any of them, but just trust me, they're going after them. And everybody's working hard. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Planned Parenthood money machine. A lot of people don't know about this. I bring it up from time to time as a former president of Tennessee Right to Life, Rutherford County chapter. It's close to my heart. It doesn't mean that I'm a super pro-life guy and don't believe in abortion at all. I think it has a place, but this is a different story. This is a different angle, okay? Yes, Amazing Polly's on BitChute, but nobody's on BitChute. BitChute has less audience than we do. It's not going to go anywhere. BitChute doesn't have a self-sustaining revenue model that will work, and so BitChute will go away. Same with Dropspace. Dropspace is one where you can go and get these videos. You have to download them to your machine, which takes some time. Then you have to upload them to Dropspace. Dropspace is okay because it's accessible through the boards, and I think that they're doing a good job trying to keep that alive, but they're still having dark time. They're still having downtime because of the forces that are working against them. All right. Good job, Charlene. She says, okay, follow it on DLive. Every little bit helps. It's true. We started out with 6 followers, and now we're up to close to 100. So we got to get to 200, and then we hit the lower threshold of the blockchain, and then tonight's program will actually show up after the show. Right now, as soon as we stop broadcasting live, it's done. It's over. You can't go back in time and look at anything. Stoker, that's a good question. What do I think about Rumble? I think Rumble has potential. I went there. I haven't transferred anything over there yet. There's no way to stream live on it. It's only a place to upload, like BitChute and like Dropspace and these others. You can take a video and you can upload it there, and then people can go there and view it. But what we're talking about here is live streaming. Live streaming is where it's at. This is where it has to happen. Because we have a set schedule. We go live. We take phone calls. If you're going to pre-record everything, that's easy peasy. Don't interact with your audience at all. Don't interact with the chat. Don't interact with the people that come in and want to be recognized and have their thoughts answered. Just upload videos. But I can tell you right now, that's 1/100th of the market. The real market is up close and personal. Me and you, right here in the chat. All your names are right here. I can see you. And every single platform that you're talking from. So, yes, Twitch is great. Kenneth says Twitch is great. I like Twitch. Twitch is a good format. I don't know if it has a revenue model that works. I still haven't figured that out yet. A lot of great gamers on Twitch. Twitch is a lot more famous than DLive, but I think DLive has the right structure. Okay, DLive has the right structure. Plan V, thank you very much. First time watching, just found you, glad I did. See, that's the thing. In DLive, you got to kind of be surfing around a little bit. Yeah, you're watching guys play Call of Duty or, some game, which is fine. I like doing it myself. But coming to watch a podcast, this is where it happens. Only Demi says Brooks is amazing. Tell your friends. See, I didn't say it. I didn't say it. Okay, only Demi said it. If you were on DLive, you could see her chat right now. Gamer for a 47 cat, watching you live on DLive for the first time. I truly enjoy your programs, and I'm also on Twitch too. Can't believe I'm doing that. Yeah, that's cool. You're like one eye on Twitch and one eye on DLive. That will make you go blind. You should just watch me on one platform. I prefer DLive, though. I'm glad you're there out there, Gamer47Cat. And let's see. All right, I want to talk about Planned Parenthood. Not really. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do. President Trump has moved to cut off Planned Parenthood's pipeline of public money in several ways. But the abortion industry giant still receives about $500 million a year from you. They take it from you. Many of you oppose abortion based on your religious beliefs and other beliefs. And now that funding under a second Donald Trump administration could be in danger. It's because Planned Parenthood faces accusations that it has overlooked evidence of sex trafficking. And such organizations are barred from receiving tax money. Ooh, those pesky little loopholes. Operation Rescue said Planned Parenthood staffers are actively fighting against the girls and young women of this nation who are victims of rape and human sex trafficking. This, the report said, should cost them their Medicaid provider eligibility nationwide if President Donald J. Trump wins re-election, which I believe he's in the process of doing right now. Thanks to President Trump and to the men and women of the U.S. Marshals Service, the Department of Homeland Security, and the FBI who fight the sex traffickers, thousands of women and children who have been rescued and many hundreds of sex traffickers have been imprisoned. It cited a recent report from the American Association of Pro-Life Obstetricians and Gynecologists, a report that showed Planned Parenthood personnel are essentially fighting to protect those who engage in this despicable crime. The report said in 2017, a survivor group undertook an informal survey of other survivors of sex trafficking who were minors at the time. That means they were under 18 years old. Surveys were sent to 1,123 women who identified as survivors. That's a pretty good sample size. Of the 1,123, there were 758 responses who were trafficked as kids. 67% of them trafficked as kids. But child sexual abuse was prevalent in nearly 96% of them. Of the 758, 90% had had one abortion at under 17, between the ages of 11 and 17. 90% of them had had at least one abortion. Of the 90%, 92%, which is 628 of these kids, had had more than one, 2 or more abortions, sometimes at the same facility. And none of them were separated from the traffickers or the bottom who brought them in. None of them were asked for ID. All of them were given the abortion, and none of them were screened. Operation Rescue President Troy Newman said this, and I quote, "It's clear the law is not on the side of Planned Parenthood. They have clearly been covering up child sex abuse and sex trafficking. Planned Parenthood has been an enabler for child traffickers," close quote. He said such activities, confirmed through investigation and convictions, could allow the administration to remove federal funding. It also could expose the abortion giant, the billion-dollar butcher, to individual claims. The pro-life group Live Action also several years ago released undercover videos showing various abortion industry employees concealing apparent crimes. Underage girls getting abortions. They're too young to grant permission to have sex, let alone have abortions. Young girls, victims of rape and sex trafficking, continuing to be given abortions, the study shows. Newman said the public has little influence over those activities or the enforcement of laws banning that behavior. But he said the public does have a vote. The public does have a vote. By the way, pregnancies due to all other reasons besides elective birth control, they total to 0.85% of the total abortions. In other words, 99.15% of abortions are elective. He said he hopes there will soon be the last snowflake that causes the avalanche, and the public outrage will begin to influence lawmakers. The issue has always been that the Democrats award Planned Parenthood up to $500 million each year in grants. Planned Parenthood then donates back $56 million every year to the Democrat Party. They have never contributed any money to the Republican Party. Operation Rescue said Planned Parenthood staffers nationwide have been aiding and abetting a less organized but much larger group of rapists. Those who rape girls in their own households, their own schools, and their own youth groups. Many selfless pro-life activists Observe the young victims as they pray and offer help to the women outside abortion facilities. Some have reported underage girls being taken in for abortions to the police because they understand that a pregnant 13-year-old girl, for example, cannot legally give her consent to have sex and was likely the victim of rape, incest, or human trafficking. It noted that the Department of Justice has confirmed that most victims of sexual abuse are girls under the age of 17. The girls most vulnerable are age 11 to 15 years of age. They are under tremendous societal pressure to submit to sex. These girls represent 25% of all sexual abuse victims. Operation Rescue reported, the AAPLOG report noted that girls above the age of 10 are much less likely to be sexually abused by blood relatives. Their victimizers are much more likely to be acquaintances, stepfathers, boyfriends, foster fathers, others. Operation Rescue cited a source investigating attacks on young girls who said this, I quote, "During my investigation, I obtained detailed government agency information on 70% of all Planned Parenthood facilities. Out of hundreds of thousands of girls below the age of 16 who were taken to Planned Parenthood facilities for birth control, VD treatment, or abortions in the past decade, Planned Parenthood staffers apparently have reported only a few hundred of them as potential victims to the police or other designated child protection agencies. They don't do it. That's even though Planned Parenthood staffers and every other person in the medical field are mandated reporters. That means they're required to report suspicions of child abuse. When a mandated reporter fails or refuses to report suspected child abuse, he or she commits a misdemeanor or a felony and is subject to the prosecution in every single state. President Trump has promised pro-life leaders that if he is reelected, he would work to take away all federal funding from Planned Parenthood. At least then, you and I would not be coerced into paying for the abortion of millions of babies each year in the U.S. alone. To date, more than 70 million American children have been killed, and you helped pay for it. Pray that this comes to an end. Yes, good point. It says in the chat room, Kimmelcido, or Kimmelcido, I think, says, wow, I actually thought that Planned Parenthood's purpose was to provide birth control pills and other types of preventative birth control modalities, devices, and that pregnancy termination would have been a nominal service provided. That is horrible news. You know, it's kind of interesting you bring this up because birth control, as we know, is only about 95% effective. 95%. So if you take a girl who is sexually active, let's say she's 15 years old, and you give her birth control pills to prevent her from being pregnant, 95% of the time, if she takes those pills every single day the way she's supposed to, they will work. Now, there are different strengths of those pills. Sometimes they're used to even out a girl's menstrual periods and prevent her from, having periods that last 10, 12 days a month. Sometimes they're given to, because the hormones are going up and down all over the place, to normalize those hormones and allow her female systems to actually operate the way they're supposed to. Sometimes what happens is they're still fertile. The pills are not strong enough, or the pills aren't the right mix of estrogen and the other hormones that are in there. And the girl gets pregnant anyway. I told you they're 95%. So that means 5% of the girls. Now think about it for a second. There are about 30 million sexually active teenagers, females, in the United States. 30 million of them. What's 5% of 30 million? Yeah, now you're seeing it. It's 1.5 million girls. 1.5 million girls on birth control that get pregnant. And that's about what we see. That's about what we see. So you are correct. What happens here, Kim Alcedo, is that you've changed the mindset of the teenage girl. You're now saying it's okay. In fact, it's socially acceptable. In fact, it's socially required to sexualize a 15-year-old girl or a 14-year-old girl or a 13-year-old girl. It's why we put the movies out that we do. It's why we issue the toys and the clothes and the marketing and the movies and everything that we do to sexualize these young girls as hard as we possibly can. That's why the movie Cuties was so devastating. These were 11. They were 11-year-old girls. And they were essentially being paraded in child porn on the screen. I don't care what social message was being said with the film. You gratified pedophiles by putting out a film like that. You essentially made every single 11 and 12-year-old girl out there consensual to pedophiles. And a lot of these girls aren't on the pill. They won't get on the pill until they're 14 or 15 years old. I already know responsible parents that do this. They do it because they know their kids are lying. They know what the forces of society. They know that a freshman girl that goes to high school is being preyed upon by senior boys. They know this. They know their kid can't drive yet. And they know the only way for them to get around is to ride around with a senior boy. And they know what's going to happen. So rather than have an unwanted pregnancy in their home, they put their teenage daughters on the pill. I'm just telling you. I went to BYU. I can tell you right now that half the girls at BYU were on some form of birth control or had an IUD in place, something, because they know what happens. And they know that an unwanted pregnancy is what ruins the reputation of a girl, even in the church. Sex could be covered up. Sex can come and go. Sex is going to happen. The pregnancy is what they're trying to avoid. The trouble is that Planned Parenthood has built a $1 billion industry on this, the shoulders of this urge. And the way it was originally set up, the clinics were built in poor neighborhoods, namely poor black neighborhoods. And so disproportionately, even though blacks make up about 12 to 13% of the national population, and that's kids or adults, they make up almost 50% of the babies that are aborted. And now you see what happens. The clinics are set up in the poorer neighborhoods with the specific purpose of eliminating black youth from the streets. I'm sorry, that's why it was set up. And so I don't understand why any black person would ever vote for a Democrat. I just don't see it. It's a systematic genocide in the inner city plantation by Planned Parenthood. Sorry, saw it, been there, saw it myself. And you're hearing it right here on America Free Radio. All right, let's break into this subject, electric vehicles. I know a little something about them. I built a few myself. Electric vehicle charging costs actually surprise a new owner. Well, I got some pointers for you. When we come back, I'll discuss this in detail. But a Rosedale man thought he was doing his part to help the environment and fight global warming when he bought a Chevy Bolt. Okay? And his latest BC Hydro bill that had Brian, we'll call him, questioning his decision. Brian was shocked to see a charge of $287.86 after paying about $90 a month on his two previous electric bills. He said, "We charge the car at home and use our electricity, but we were never told, oh, thank you for going green, but the government is now going to make you pay for that. How does this make sense?" Well, it makes sense. We'll do the math when we come back right after the break at the top of the hour. You're going to find the reality of owning an electric vehicle. I own a couple of electric trucks right now. Honestly, I don't think I've ever paid to charge them up one time. So a lot of pointers I can give you on owning an electric vehicle. This is America Free Radio. I'm Brooks Agnew. We're going to be our final hour coming up here in just about 15 seconds. We'll take a quick break, get a breather, go to the bathroom, do what you got to do, listen to the commercials. We'll be right back.
Censorship and regulation is becoming an ever-growing problem in today's modern media. From the mainstream to YouTube and Google, the information you're looking for is buried by official narratives and propaganda. This is why TFR is 100% uncensored, unregulated, and listener-supported. The shows on TFR are not micromanaged by the station, and our hosts are free to speak their minds however they please. As such, the views and opinions expressed on our station are of those who make them. If you happen to hear anything offensive on TFR, please send us an email to toughtitty@tfrlive.com, and we'll be happy to tell you that we really don't give a damn. We stand for freedom of speech and non-censorship. If you also stand for free speech, you can go to tfrlive.com/sign-up and sign up for a TFR supporter pass and help us in our mission to keep the airwaves uncensored and unregulated. TFR Live, your uncensored and unregulated protection from deception.
Final full week of campaigning. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. The campaigns of President Trump and Joe Biden continue to stump in battleground states today to take advantage of what time is left. VP Mike Pence at a rally in Kinston, North Carolina tonight.
The president said with Joe Biden, you got 47 years of all talk, no action. But you're here tonight because you know what I know. Under President Donald Trump, it's been 47 months of all action, all results. 47 months of promises made and promises kept.
President Trump rallied in New Hampshire. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden holding a virtual event from his home, while his VP nominee Kamala Harris campaigned in Michigan. She told a rally in Pontiac the president's desire to overturn the Affordable Care Act is an obsession.
Even when he was running for office, have you noticed how Donald Trump has had this weird obsession with trying to get rid of whatever Barack Obama and Joe Biden created?
The Biden campaign targets Georgia and Texas this week. By this time tomorrow night, there should be a new Supreme Court justice. Senate Republicans voting to advance the nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
Republican senators had the votes to overcome a filibuster and clear the final procedural hurdle for Supreme Court nominee Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says it's the right thing for a highly qualified jurist.
And colleagues, by tomorrow night, we'll have a new member of the United States Supreme Court.
Democratic leader Chuck Schumer has resisted every step, accusing Republicans of hypocrisy and rushing a nominee before Election Day.
There is no precedent, none, for what is going on here.
A final confirmation vote is now set for Monday evening.
Fox's Jared Halpern. America is listening to Fox News.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
The wicked ones obviously under heavy Masonic influence.
Thank you, Professor. Professor Bauer says Dodgers are ahead 3-0. Okay, good. Go blue. Hey, I'm from California, right? Originally, I, got to stick with the original team. We used to sit out on the back porch with my grandfather and listen to the baseball game on AM radio. A little different experience, listen to a little transistor radio and sit between us on the glass coffee table underneath the awning of our the back of our house in Southern California. We would listen to the baseball game. It was pretty cool. Good way to grow up. Didn't think it was high tech then, but I still don't. And maybe there's something special and, I don't know, a wood to cork nice about that. Also in the chat room while you were at break, Eric said that Gene Simmons' wife said 14 was the new 16. Yeah, it's way worse than that. I don't know where you live, Eric, but out in California, it's like 13 is the new 18. They really sexualize these kids. They dress them up. I don't know what parents are thinking. I honestly don't know what parents are thinking. They're thinking fashion, but it is very, very suggestive. And these little kids, they don't know. They don't know what's going on. They're trying to dress up like, Miss Jasmine or whatever. And, of course, in the movie, they did cover the midriff, and they did put a shirt on Aladdin, right? Okay, it's just good things battle bad things out there. Light against darkness all the time. Light against darkness. And also we're talking a little bit about electric vehicles. And Mark says he wants to build a hydrogen on-demand vehicle based on current internal combustion engine. It can be done. Here's the thing. You're talking about what we call boom gas. This is the recombination or oxidation of hydrogen with oxygen to generate water. Okay, it's the recombination of hydrogen and oxygen. There is an enthalpy, a heat of enthalpy, which releases energy in the form of combustion. What is not taken into consideration, Mark, is the energy that is required to split the hydrogen off the oxygen in the first place. The energy to remove the hydrogen from the oxygen is greater than the energy you get back by recombining them back together. So it's a money loser. It doesn't make money. Now, fusion technology, and I don't mean fusing protons together to make helium. That would be a nuclear explosion. We don't want to do that, Mark. I'm talking about taking the proton itself and flowing it through a membrane, a semi-permeable membrane, to create charge flow. So instead of moving the electrons, you're moving the electrons through based upon the positive charge of the hydrogen on one side. Now, what you need here is a flow of hydrocarbons. Usually what's used is natural gas. And compressed natural gas is good, but usually they just use it right out of the ground. So what you have is membranes that will take the natural gas straight out of the ground or straight from your power company or utility company and run it through membranes and convert it directly into electricity. It's actually pretty good. The issue is, of course, that the protons are acidic. They are actually the mechanism of acid. And so what happens is they end up eating the plates up. And so you have to have membranes and plates replaced on a regular basis. It can be expensive. There are companies out there. One is called the Bloom Box. The Bloom Box. It's about the size of a refrigerator. It goes on the outside of your house. You hook your natural gas line to it, and it creates electricity for your house. It's called the Bloom Box. It does work. It does create electricity from natural gas directly. It's actually quite efficient. No pollution whatsoever. A little bit of carbon dioxide, and that's it. Once the natural gas flow runs out, your electricity runs out. Simple as that. So you're going to pay for natural gas instead of electricity, which is cheaper. It will save you money. So I don't think that internal combustion is very efficient for hydrogen. Gasoline is way, way more efficient. Way more efficient. In fact, if you take a vehicle, let's say a small sedan, okay, just a little four-door, If you wanted to take you and 3 of your friends 1 mile in a small sedan, it's going to cost you about, at today's prices, about 9 cents, 9 to 10 cents, something like that. If you had a bigger vehicle, maybe it will get up to 20 cents for a mile. Now, if you were to go to Shanghai, let's say, and you found a rickshaw driver, a guy who either has a bicycle or he runs on the ground, and he carries the 2 poles, or the 2 poles are attached to his bicycle, and you said, I want to give you this shiny dime, and you take me and 3 of my friends 1 mile up the road. He is going to beat you severely with a stick. He's not going to do that for no dime. Gasoline is actually very cheap. But you have to consider that there's a lot of wear and tear on the environment, a lot of wear and tear on the vehicle for that in-town driving. In other words, the internal combustion engine, it's not really set up optimally to do that. Now, if you want to put it on the freeway at 85 miles an hour and you want to run for 3 hours, I doubt you'll find anything more efficient on planet Earth. You could run the vehicle on compressed natural gas or diesel or gasoline, but you're not going to find anything more efficient than an internal combustion engine at that speed and that distance. Now, in town, stop and go, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, up to 50 miles an hour. That's what electric vehicles are built for. They're built for that. They're built to sit in Bombay or LA or San Francisco, or they're built to sit in traffic and run air conditioning for hours and hours and hours while you're sitting in traffic going from one place to another. That's what they're made for. They're designed for that, and they're very efficient at doing that. But Brian had a little different experience. He said he called BC Hydro, called their number, and talked to one of their representatives while I had the BC Hydro website open on my computer. After we talked for a bit, he told me that he agreed that we should not have to pay the higher rate because of the electric vehicle being charged. BC Hydro spokesperson Maura Scott said Brian's experience of a dramatic spike is not a common one, but an increase on the electric bill should be expected when an electric vehicle is purchased. She said that usually there's more than an offset by not needing to fuel up a vehicle. And when you're talking about fueling up a vehicle, most average people fuel up like every Friday, right? Or maybe twice a month. It depends on how far you drive, of course. Most vehicles are set up to have about a 400-mile range. So if you have a small vehicle that gets 40 miles to the gallon, you have a 10-gallon tank. If you have a big truck like mine with a 28-gallon tank, you get 21 miles to the gallon, and you still have about a 450-mile range. It's built on range. There are some vehicles out there that have inordinately high fuel tanks for their mileage. I think some of the hybrids, Hyundai and others, may have that. Some of the Nissans have it. So you can go like 700 miles on a tank of fuel, but you're not really saving anything. You're just saving from having to stop for fuel. You're not really saving anything on the drive. So me, I drive 270 miles every single day. And so, yes, I have to fuel up every single day. Every single day, it's $28, $29 every single day, 5 days a week. And that's just the nature of this contract. Not all of them are like that, but this one is. So, it costs me a lot of money. It costs me about $150 a week to drive, $600 a month. But I could never do this on an electric vehicle. It would never happen. Now, I do own 2 electric trucks, and when I'm just doing short range, I usually use the public charging systems, which I have yet to actually pay for one, or I use the solar panels that are on the vehicle to charge it up, or I charge it up at home. And when I charge it up at home, it's a very little amount. Instead of paying money every single day, I pay once a month on my light bill. So you think about it. Most electric vehicles, people make the switch to it because electricity is clean and they save a lot in the fuel costs. Charging at home is about 75% cheaper than gasoline. For example, a Nissan Leaf can travel about 100 kilometers for about $2 in electricity. That's a tiny fraction of what it would cost to drive an equivalent gas-powered car the same distance. We're also looking at future rate options for EV drivers that could include off-peak overnight charging. This would be at a power rate to encourage more British Columbians to make the switch to driving an EV. And that's the wonderful thing. If you're charging your vehicle up, say, between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., that gives you 8 hours to charge up your vehicle. You're basically charging up on surplus electricity because the coal plants or the hydroelectric plants or the nuclear plants, they're making electricity. Nobody's using it. Everyone's asleep. So the electricity just doesn't do anything. It goes around and around and around and back to ground, and no one uses it. So you're using surplus electricity. So that idea that, electric vehicles are adding CO2 to the air because of the amount of electricity is crap, because the vehicles charge up at night. So when they charge up at night, they're not adding any more CO2 to the air. All right, let's talk a little bit about let's see here what we got going in the chat room. Max's cars is for sale. I want to look sharp in the collapse. All right. Chavez Ravine, Vin Scully, remember it well. Professor Bauer. White Wolf says, my cat's trying to open the office door. He can't figure it out. I have 2 cats. One can open the office door, and the other one cannot. Neither one of them know how to close the door after they leave. So we have to have a human intervention to take care of that, and that's pretty cool. Why can't we use water-powered, as in Stan Meyer's technology? That's a good question, White Wolf. Everybody wants to know the answer to that. And the answer is that electrolysis doesn't work. The reason Stan Meyer's car worked is because it was loaded with batteries. Oh, sure, he could convert the water into hydrogen and oxygen, and then he could recombine it when the engine burned it. But once the water was gone, or once the battery charge was gone, the car stopped. So that was the problem with Stan Meyer's technology. It didn't work. It was a good show. Yeah, I've held the technology in my hand, so I know what I'm talking about here. Yes, I will take the calls live. Let me check the caller board. I don't have anybody on the caller board yet, but the number's right up there, 213-233-3998. Why was Michael Hastings killed? Do you remember who Michael Hastings was? The very last op-ed progressive journalist Michael Hastings wrote for BuzzFeed was titled, Why Democrats Love to Spy on Americans. I bet you didn't know that, did you? 10 days later, June 17, 2013, Michael Hastings emailed his BuzzFeed associates warning them, I quote, the feds are interviewing my close friends and associates. He added that he was on to a big story and had to go off the radar for a bit. Hope to see you all soon. Hastings did not see those associates soon, or otherwise. In the early morning hours of June 18th, his leased Mercedes-Benz crashed into a palm tree on San Vicente Boulevard, not far from my old stomping grounds. The car burst into flames upon impact, and Hastings' body was burned beyond recognition. 2 months later, Hastings' widow, Elise Jordan, gave her first national interview. I quote, my gut is that it was a really tragic accident, Jordan said of the crash, before adding a more bankable quote. There will be published his profile of John Brennan in an upcoming edition of Rolling Stone, probably in a couple of weeks, close quote. Jordan did not know enough about President Obama's newly appointed CIA director to be concerned. For the 4 previous years, Brennan had served quietly as Obama's deputy national security advisor and generally kept his name out of the news. Jordan's comments about Brennan didn't make any waves at all. They should have. Although not yet made public, Michael Hastings was well aware of a 2010 email hacked from the chief security officer of Stratfor, a global intelligence company and CIA contractor. The email, which was fed to WikiLeaks, reads as follows, I quote, "Brennan is behind the witch hunts of investigative journalists, learning information from inside the Beltway sources. There is specific tasker from the White House to go after anyone printing materials negative to the Obama agenda. Even the FBI is shocked. The Wonder Boys must be in meltdown mode," close quote. Those who knew John Brennan had to believe the email was accurate. He's a killer. He's a spook, a spy, a liar, a communist, and a killer. From the beginning, he served as Obama's fixer. People died. People disappeared. In recent weeks, declassified documents have confirmed Brennan's central role in the plot to subvert first Trump's candidacy, then his presidency. But even before Obama was elected president, Brennan had shown his potential for high-level mischief. Beginning in January of 2008, for instance, a still unnamed individual breached Obama's passport file 4 times. To his credit, CNN reported a detail the New York Times did not find newsworthy. Namely, that the suspect worked for the Analysis Corporation, whose CEO advises the Illinois Democrat on foreign policy and intelligence issues. That CEO was none other than Mr. John Brennan. With a president to elect, the media let the Brennan angle die. Michael Hastings was a media outlier. Although he moved in progressive circles, his one true cause was a free press. Like Breitbart, like me. Hastings represented a shrinking pool of journalists from within that circle, willing to pursue the truth, even if it thwarted the Democratic agenda. A month before his death, Hastings appeared on the left-wing current TV program, The Young Turks. The Obama administration has clearly declared war on the press. It's declared war on investigative journalists. Our sources, said Hastings. I think the only recourse to this kind of behavior by the government is to say back to the government, we declare war on you. Hastings was responding to the news that Obama's Justice Department had quietly seized all of the relevant records for 20 Associated Press telephone lines. The seizure had to do with AP reporting on a covert CIA operation in Yemen. Although only 5 reporters were involved in that story, more than 100 reporters used those telephone lines and switchboards whose records were seized. Associated Press President Gary Pruitt publicly scolded Attorney General Eric Withholder, arguing that the government had no conceivable right to know the content of those records. On Face the Nation, Pruitt boldly assessed White House strategy. I know what the message being sent is. If you talk to the press, we're going after you. In his June 7th op-ed, Hastings referenced another looming scandal, Glenn Greenwald's exposure of the NSA's massive domestic spy program. Hastings cited several other journalists, including James Rosen of Fox News, by the way, who had been viciously attacked by the Obama administration. I remember Fox had to step in and save him. And when he did come back on TV, his face looked horrible. Not that he'd been beaten up. He'd been scared. James Rosen was scared. He may not have known about the cyber harassment of CBS News' Cheryl Atkinson. In her book, Stonewalled, Atkinson refers to the Stratfor email about Brennan in the way of suggesting her possible tormentor. You recall her story, don't you? She's typing away on her laptop, writing a story, and all of a sudden, as though someone's using the backspace key on her keyboard, the letters start backing right out of her screen. Somebody was in her screen, sharing her screen of her laptop, and took over her keyboard and was deleting letters as she was writing them. You think Cheryl wasn't scared? As to whether Brennan had Hastings killed, one essential variable overrides all the many circumstantial ones, and it's this: the testimony of Michael's older brother, Jonathan. In an extended interview, Jonathan related how he had flown out to L.A. to help ease his brother through a manic episode, and it wasn't Michael's first. He said, "I started to make arrangements with our older brother to fly out and help me, possibly force Mike into checking himself into a hospital or detox center. Jonathan never got the chance. He snuck out on me when I was sleeping. He crashed his car before anyone could do anything to help him. It is highly unlikely Brennan or his allies had sabotaged the car. What seems probable, however, is that the deep state response to Hastings' investigation aggravated his paranoia." Well, unlike the brothers and parents of Seth Rich, the DNC data analyst murdered in 2016, which, by the way, that murder is covered in the book Charm a Favor, if you would like to read it. I'll post the ad. Hang on 1 second here. I'll post that again so you can see it. They're all available on Amazon. By casting Mike's death as a kind of Robert Ludlum-style conspiracy, people miss out on how the government actually silences and suppresses reporters through the threat of legal action. 4 years after the death of Hastings, possibly at the instigation of larger forces, the Rich family would take legal action to prevent Fox News and others from investigating the death of their son, Seth. Michael Hastings would have been appalled. 2 years almost to the day after Hastings' death, Donald Trump announced for the presidency. Soon after, John Brennan launched his secret war to undermine Trump. It must have surprised even Brennan that the media, including the hosts of The Young Turks, cheered him on. "Go get him," they said. And more perversely still, after he lost his gig at the CIA, NBC, and MSNBC hired Brennan as a senior national security and intelligence analyst, and it was a long time after that he lost his top secret security clearance. Among the few progressive journalists to see through the madness was Rolling Stone reporter Matt Taibbi. In his book, Hate, Inc., Taibbi says out loud what should have been obvious to everyone on his side of the barricades. Being on any team is a bad look for the press, but the press being on the team FBI, CIA is an atrocity, Trump or no Trump. As the Biden laptop scandal has shown, the media and the FBI still play on the same team. The profile of John Brennan, the one Elise Jordan believed was to be published in a couple of weeks, never saw the light of day. Serious progressive journalism appears to have died when Hastings did. He had warned that the Obama administration's version of the national security state will begin to eat itself alive. But he could not have suspected that his progressive colleagues would happily enable the feast. Hastings never did tell his readers why Democrats love to spy on Americans, but he surely sensed what the answer was. Unlike Republicans, Democrats know they can get away with it. So why not? Well, they don't get away with it here. At America Free Radio, we will expose it. We will read the stories. We will share our thoughts. And we will bring the truth to you, regardless of the opposition. Final segment coming up here at X Squared Radio through the America Free Radio studios. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
Extendivite is more than just a heart tonic. Do you have any of these symptoms? Night cramps in the hands and feet. Your arms and legs often go to sleep. On short walks, do your legs get aches and pains? Is your memory worse than it used to be? Ankles that swell late in the day? Has your blood pressure increased lately? If you answered yes to even one of these questions, you may have early warning signs of arterial blockages. Your body is saying that it is time to take Extendivite. These are not the normal signs of aging. They are the warning signs that accompany blocked arteries. Get your Extendivite today. Extendivite is available in capsule liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
This is iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio makes you want to move.
When you have a great melody, a song lasts forever.
Instantly connected.
I love it when the beat goes.
Did you know you can listen to Truth Frequency Radio on iHeartRadio? Just download the app to your smart car, smartphone, or smart TV and get the best of TFR wherever you are.
iHeartRadio.
I'll see you there.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
For 5,000 years, the world was ruled with wooden ships by one man. 242 years ago, a small group of free men crafted a new nation built on liberty and freedom. Global elites have been fighting to destroy this new nation called America ever since. Based on actual events, Charm of Favor tells a true story of how they corrupted the election system. They infiltrated federal agencies and murdered witnesses, judges, and even presidents to keep from being caught. Now, the largest and wealthiest crime syndicate the world has ever known has been drawn out of the shadows. They have killed hundreds of Americans. Recently, they attempted to assassinate half our congressmen. Still, they escape arrest through an almost supernatural charm of favor. Read Charm of Favor and be prepared to open your eyes to what may lie just around the corner. Charm of Favor is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Real people, real radio.
Initiating the truth frequency.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Thank you all for also going to DLive and registering to follow me. It's free. Don't cost nothing. Once we get to 200 followers, we'll be able to run archives on there, and more people can enjoy these podcasts on another platform besides YouTube. Thank you very much, Doug, for the $15 contribution in Top Chat. He says we need to focus on swaying uninformed voters to learn the truths about the Biden family crimes until election. All else can wait. True enough. Let's talk a little bit about this. The war goes on, you know. The CCP war with America is ramping up with no end in sight. Although Operation Corona Scare did not kill as many people as planned, the effect was the same. There will be probably no return to normal. We have already damaged millions of children with fear and isolation. The world is going to be dealing with the psychosis caused by strapping a mask over their faces and the faces of their parents for at least a generation. You can never get that affection and bonding back from the depths of fear. Counterfeit cash still pouring into our country. 1s, 5s, 10s, 20s are being dumped onto Main Street for the express purpose of making businesses distrust the money supply. When the banks stop giving them credit for their deposits, small businesses will revolt and the banks will close. They already have in many cases. The public outcry will push the U.S. Treasury to recall all the cash to the banks for cleaning. Then they will issue electronic credit. That doesn't do a lot of good for people that live on cash. They work for cash, pay their bills in cash. They don't have bank accounts. They save in cash. They bank in cash. It doesn't do them any good. You've got to convert the money into something else. I highly recommend, if you are holding cash at home or even in your checking account, it sits there for more than 2 or 3 months, you're running a big risk. 3 risks. Number 1 is cyber theft or identity theft. They can just go in, scoop the money out of your checking account, and you're done. The bank could do it. Amazon can do it. Anybody that has your credit card or debit card number can do it. That's the first risk. The second risk is your account gets frozen for some reason. You can't access the money. It could happen for a lot of reasons. The bank could have a glitch, could have a problem. How many times have you gone to the bank with your debit card to withdraw cash and the ATM is down? That's not the end of the world, right? You just go down to the QT or to the Circle K or the 7-Eleven. You pay the $2.50 or $3.50 and you get your money, right? What happens if that one is down? Where do you go then? You have a backup plan to your backup plan? What happens if you go to the Starbucks or the gas station or whatever, you slip that card in the machine and it doesn't work? Your account's frozen. That can happen for a lot of reasons. IRS can seize it. Bill collectors can seize it. They can garnish your wages, seize your checking account. A lot of reasons. And number 3 is, besides identity theft and your account can be frozen, is you either lose your card or you lose your ability to access those funds electronically. Now you're back to writing checks. You don't have cash. How many times have you gone into a store when they say, our card reader's down, you have to have cash? It's a big problem. What happens if there's a fourth reason? What happens if the government says, hey, we have this big problem. We discovered $1 billion of counterfeit cash has been unloaded in 12 major cities around the country, and right now we have to operate everything electronically. Well, the problem is you deal in cash, and you don't have the ability to make an exchange. You have to have something else. I highly recommend you convert 25% of the cash you have on hand. I don't mean the cash you got to pay your bills with this month. I mean the disposable cash that you're saving for a rainy day, 25% of that money should be in precious metals. Should be in platinum, gold, or silver. I use silver because it's affordable for me. I can take bars of various increments, put it together, and I can buy stuff if I have to buy stuff. It's currency. It's currency, okay? It's different than selling a gold ring or a watch or a piece of jewelry. It's a fixed amount of silver. You know what it's worth, and you can trade it, and you can make purchases with it. If worse comes to worse, and you absolutely have to have cash, you can go to a pawn shop and get cash in 5 minutes flat. It's a good safety valve. You should keep it, okay? You should keep it on hand at your house. Yes, videos from the underground says Chinese money is our money. It used to be the case, but it is slowly, now that Donald Trump has been president, slowly working the other way. Okay? The public outcry is going to be for the banks to clean things up. I don't know how big this problem is for you, but I go to bed every night, sometimes scared that the money I have in the bank is going to be stolen. You know, my Amazon account, I've been on Amazon for a lot of years, maybe 15 years I've had an Amazon account. My Amazon account is closed right now because of fraud. I don't even know if you can buy my books or even if I'll get paid on the 29th as usual. I don't know. I'll find out in a few days. If I get a check, I'm still in business. If I don't get a check, I'm out. I'm done. I'm finished. I don't even know if you can buy the books. Someone charged cat food and some masks and some pet odor spray on my account. They were buying something every 20 minutes for days, and they won't tell me who bought it or where the stuff's being shipped. And that's probably a smart thing, because I would be there today collecting if I knew who was stealing from me. There's more. Well-known China expert Gordon Chang has concluded that China is killing Americans deliberately with its export of not cash, not the virus, fentanyl. Writing for Gatestone Institute, he quotes Fox News' Tucker Carlson, stating it's a fact that fentanyl and COVID both came from China. China is our main rival. They are our enemy, and they're benefiting from the deaths of many thousands of Americans. Chang writes that China has been pushing fentanyl into the United States for years. And last year, fatal drug overdoses hit a record 70,980 people dead in 1 year, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, one of whom was George Floyd. Of that total, more than 36,000 of them every year were from synthetic opioids like fentanyl. Vanda Felbab Brown of the Brookings Institution has called it the deadliest drug epidemic in American history. Cocaine and meth fatalities are also up, largely because they're mixed with fentanyl. Felbab Brown also noted that since 2013, China has been the principal source of the fentanyl flooding the U.S. illicit drug market, or of the precursor agents from which fentanyl is produced, often in Mexico. That aligns with what the Drug Enforcement Administration has found. In China, gangs work on fentanyl compounds in labs to make the drug more addictive. A former American national security officer said this a few years ago. Moreover, Chinese technicians constantly change formulas to avoid detection at the American border. In short, China's regime is killing Americans with fentanyl. It is doing so deliberately. Tucker Carlson was right to suggest intentionality. While the Trump administration has pressured Beijing to announce a ban on exporting fentanyl-class substances without permission, analysts warn that the rules are hard to administer. Chang noted that the Communist Party controls virtually every business in China, and even gangs are not likely to be around in the near totalitarian state without government approval. And if the CCP somehow does not know of a particular gang, it is because it's decided not to know. Further, all exports are inspected before leaving China, which allows the shipment of fentanyl through its National Postal Service. He said an estimated 13% of packages from China contain fentanyl or other contraband product, but Chinese officials believe running drugs is a small price to pay for achieving national greatness. Cleo Pascal of the Washington, D.C.-based Foundation for Defense of Democracies said the Chinese are obsessed with comprehensive national power. They meticulously measure it, thoroughly study it, and constantly compare the rankings of China to other countries, especially the United States. Chang said China is, with malice, trying to reduce America's comprehensive national power with fentanyl. There can be no other explanation for Beijing letting criminal organizations operate unimpeded. They are also committing bribery. They have funneled hundreds of millions of dollars to American politicians. Yes, the ones in office right now, in Congress, in the Senate, in the state Senate and state Congress, governors, city councilmen, district attorneys, all through funneled Chinese money. They also have done cyber hacking. They're stealing money and technology from Americans. In the 2018 hack of Equifax, they gained the credit information, earnings information, voting information, medical information on 750,000 Americans. Pretty incredible number. And even more information than that on 75 million Americans. So they know everything about you. They know where you make your money. They know how long you've worked. They know what your credit score is, what your bank balance is. They have access to everything, including your signature. They can even vote on your behalf. And I would venture to say that based on the stakes that are at hand, this election right now, which is why Doug made this donation, this election right now is at risk because it is being meddled with. It is being interfered with by China directly. They are printing counterfeit ballots and slipping them into our system. They're messing with the counting machines. They're manipulating information. You know, it's kind of interesting. I'm watching Facebook, and I sometimes go to the Facebook videos because they usually put together a good spread of old music. You know, I listen to 10 Years After and Led Zeppelin and Carlos Santana and some street musicians doing covers. And mixed in there, in every single one of these videos, they break for commercials about every 2 to 3 minutes. Guess what the commercials are? Well, you don't have to guess, I guess. All the commercials are Biden for president commercials. All of the commercials are Biden for president commercials on Facebook. There are no Trump for president commercials on Facebook. I don't see any Trump ads on Facebook or Twitter. Everything is Biden. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of commercials all day long. And I'm not the only one seeing them. Thank you, Doug. Another $20 to the, he calls it the Antarctica Fund, but it's actually the North Pole Inner Earth Expedition Fund. Let me go ahead and put that in the chat here. HTTPS. I will put this in the description here at the bottom too. If you want to participate, there are a lot of ways of doing it. From free, you can participate for free just by signing up for the newsletter, or you can contribute anywhere from $5 to $50 a month toward the expedition. And there are a variety of benefits that come with this. Some of them are access to basic archives of let's call them off-the-grid videos that you will only get as a subscriber. The higher numbers, you get access to interviews that we're getting ready to do with universities, with the science teams, as Brad and I and others that are on the team, Suzanne, who runs SciSpy TV, we're putting all this together, and the content will be available to those people that are paying. Also, if you pay the $50 a month, you're eligible for the live feeds from the ship. So that means 24 hours a day for the 15 days that we are at sea. You can access any one of 4 channels that will be running 24 hours a day for that period of time. You get to see the ship launch. You can go from, well, we'll have, I don't know how many cameras we're going to have, actually. We may have as many as 10 cameras. The cameras will be running all the time. They'll be gathering feed all the time, going into the server all the time. But we're only going to provide online for 4 of those, because somebody's got to sleep sometime, right? So all 10 cameras are not going to be running all the time. By the time we finish, we'll have accumulated about 3,000 hours of film. Now, some of the film isn't going to be worth anything. It's just going to be technical stuff, watching somebody run an experiment, or watching us take a measurement of seawater, or take a helicopter ride, or from the bridge. It depends on what the weather's like, I suppose, if it's very interesting or not, or breaking ice. But somewhere in there is going to be some interesting stuff, and we'll try to edit that live and try to make it as interesting as we can. The point is that all that information is going to be available to the subscribers. Why? Because it's the subscribers that are going to make it financially possible. As I said, we already know we have 20 million fans out there. We already know we have 20 million fans out there. We just can't reach them. We just can't reach them. We're being blocked so many different ways from reaching those 20 million fans. They don't even know we're here. The only people that can reach them is you. You sharing this program with your friends is how they find out that we exist. So thank you very much for the contribution, Doug. It will go to where it's supposed to go. All the money goes into one account. It's not being touched. Some of it is growing. I've got it invested. So far, we've made about 63% on that money. Not bad. So it's not being withdrawn or taken out for anything. Let's see. Okay. I can't read all the chats, but I'm just staying up with it. Doug says the Chinese have a 1,000-year plan of pure evil. It could be, but I don't think the CCP has not been around that long, okay? The CCP is not China. I know they like to think that, but the Communist Chinese Party is not China. The Chinese people are actually pretty cool, pretty smart, pretty hardworking. The trouble is that they have a party that believes it exists independent of the people. And they have a policy, a government policy. They don't mind one single bit using up 300 million Chinese lives, basically sacrificing them if they can take us out. 300 million Chinese in exchange for 300 million Americans. What they say, and this is part of their written policy, I've read it on this program before, they can make more Chinese. But once America's gone, China rules the world. And I don't mean all the buildings in America. I don't mean all the infrastructure, the freeways, the parks, the mines. I don't mean that. I mean the Americans. That's what Operation Corona Scare was. It was supposed to be a virus to kill off all the Americans, even if they had to sacrifice 300 million Chinese to make it happen. They were perfectly willing to do that. Obviously, round 1 didn't work for them, so I would expect a round 2. No, Doug, I don't think it's population control. I don't think the Chinese give a rat's behind about population control. Not one bit. I think what they care about is world control, world domination. It is maybe a multi-thousand-year-old mindset, not necessarily the CCP. The same people that hollered Barabbas from the crowd to see Jesus crucified are doing it now. The same people that caused genocide on this planet over and over and over again in zeniths past, going back hundreds of thousands of years on this planet, are the same people that are doing it now. It's all the same. It's all written about in the Birth Trilogy. You should read it. And by the way, the audiobook is a free bonus. If you buy the paperback, you get the audiobook for free. All right, let's see how much time we got here. I think I can get to this part here. Oh, we have 5 minutes. I think I can do this. The Democrats' race for war, a race war, is over. It is not enough to win. All others must lose. For more than 100 years, the Democrats have clutched to their generous and previous ownership of the black race in America. They have used semantics and the global media empire to keep black people inside the fences of the new plantations, festering in the middle of Democrat-run cities all over America. They didn't know any better. They couldn't. Democrats controlled the cops. They controlled the schools. They controlled the newspapers and the banks to make sure blacks could not buy homes, they couldn't start businesses, and they damn sure couldn't leave the plantation. All that changed when Donald Trump became president. What do you have to lose? He asked them in 2016. A new survey found that President Donald Trump's approval rating among likely black voters skyrocketed last week. The results of Rasmussen's Reports Daily presidential approval rating tracking poll found that Trump's approval among likely black voters went from 25% on Monday to a whopping 46% on Friday. Trump's approval rating among this demographic actually decreased to 24% on Tuesday. 3 days later, it had nearly doubled to 46%. The president's overall approval rating was at 51% just 2 days ago. Daily tracking results are collected via telephone surveys of 500 likely voters per night and reported on a 3-day rolling average basis. This is actually very, very accurate. The margin of sampling error, 1,500 likely voters, is only 2.5%. That's a 95% confidence interval. This is good. This is very, very good. Considering the historical support for Republicans' presidential candidates among black voters, if the results are anywhere close to accurate, and I believe they are, then Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden is in big trouble. Big trouble. The support of black voters is crucial for Democrats, and without the vast majority of that support, Biden's campaign is over. Last month, Gallup reported Trump's support is up among black Americans from 2016, but they didn't register anywhere near 46%. Gallup reported that aggregated data from polls conducted on July 30th, the 12th of August, September 13th, showed Trump approval, a rough surrogate for likelihood to vote for Trump, at 11% among blacks, with disapproval at 87%. But that was way back on September 13th. Now it's jumped. It's jumped for several reasons, I think. One is, I think, the Hunter Biden laptop. I think the debates were rather devastating for Biden, especially when President Trump said, You're just another corrupt politician, Joe. You're the reason I ran. If you guys had done a good job, I wouldn't have run. I had a good life. But you guys did such a bad job, I had to run. I had to fix it. And so here he is. I could just tell you that this is one of the main reasons why America Free Radio is here. 16 years ago, we started launching and covering the truth. Slowly but surely, we became the number one on my old network, which was the BBS radio network. 6 years ago, I switched over to the Truth Frequency Radio Network. We're now number one on this network. We're also on Revolution Radio on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. And we're also on Twitch, Periscope, Facebook Live, and D Live. And we're trying to be number one on there. I try to bring high-quality content, a good variety of video so that you can see what's going on behind the scenes here. And I try to work on my delivery every single time that I'm on the air. I do it out of love. Love for you, love for America, love for truth and justice and freedom. My name is Brooks Agnew. This is X Squared Radio, saying, peace, Earth Explorers. Where we go one, we go all. Stay faithful. We'll see you next time right here on X Squared Radio. That's it for us tonight. We're out.